Hey everybody, come on in. So good to see you. Welcome, welcome. So great to get together with you guys today to talk about powernomics. This is where we're making black people great again. That's what we're supposed to be. And and one thing uh, that I wanted to mention is that we were going to actually do a little bit of a switch on our content. Before, as you know, for years we've been reading Powernomics, and we read Black Labor, White Wealth by Dr. Claude Anderson. We also read The Black History Reader. In case you don't know, we've been doing this since I think about probably 2018 or 2019, and we've been very consistent for several years and been meeting every single week. And now I decided that we were going to do something a little bit different. Now we are going to jump into my book, which is called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. And what I'm really, really praying for, I said a little prayer to white Jesus, black Jesus, and baby Jesus. And I asked them all, I said, can y'all please convince the people that are coming to this class? Like, I'll do this class for free, but can you convince them to feel empowered enough to bring the chillums, to bring the little babies, bring the grandkids, bring the next door neighbor, bring the ratchet crazy cousin who don't want to listen to nobody. Like, just ask them, just invite them, just say, hey, you like money? Do you like money? Is money important to you? And they'll say, yeah, money's important. It's hard to get money. It's harder. The white man don't let me have no money. And then you say, well, I know a guy named Boyce who has a whole PhD in money. His whole doctorate's in money. All he did was sit around for 30 years and study money. And he's doing a class and it doesn't cost you anything. It's going to show you how to make money as a black person in America and how money works. And when you get done, you'll be smarter. You'll feel blacker. This is better than a Kendrick Lamar concert, except I won't be, any rapping that I do is going to be rapping that's going to turn into action. And because I'm not here to just talk to you, I'm here to make your life better. And I know that we're doing this in the Black Business School. We're getting it done, actually. I did the survey results, and I found that 78% of you reported to us that your income, your wealth has gone up because you've been coming to class. That's what I want. That's what I want. We got so many people out here that just, they got the fast lips and the fast tongue and just mouthpiece on fleek and just can just give you a great speech and make you feel good. But can they make your life better? Right? Is your life improved as a result of that interaction? And if the answer is no, then I'm gonna be like, well, why are we wasting our time? Why are we sitting here just talking? I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired of all the talking. I want to break the cycle. I want us to really get things done. I want us to have a plan. I want to implement the plan. I want to see our families prosper. So a couple stats that I will brag about forever, and I'm gonna keep working to improve these stats, is number one, 78% of you that come to Money in the Morning, which we do every single morning, 7 days a week, said that your income and your wealth has gone up because you've been part of these trainings that we're doing in the Black Business School. That makes us, in my opinion, I think that makes us the number one HBCU in America because we don't even charge you hardly nothing. Most of our classes are a fraction of the cost of most universities. But then number two, um, the other stat I was really proud of was what was it? What was it? Oh, 88% of you are invested in the stock market. That's very powerful. That's extremely important. Remember, take this from a person, a master of wealth. When I look at the data, basically the way to predict if a person is going to have money or not, or generational wealth, is are they consistently participating in the stock market? That is the number one variable. I can show you a chart of wealth going all the way back to 1802. And on this chart, they pretty much show you that stocks are the best way to make money in America. If you're not in the stock market, you're missing the money. I just want you so if you're wondering, like, well, why is the money flying over my head and landing in my neighbor's pockets? Well, you look no further than the stock market. I'm sure you maybe, unfortunately, they didn't talk about that in your public school. Maybe your parents didn't know what to tell you. Maybe your homeboys didn't want to tell you this. Maybe, Massa didn't want you to have his secrets, but that's where the money's at in America. So that's the second stat that I'm really proud of. The third stat I'm super proud of is that when we asked you all, would you recommend our classes to a friend? And literally, 99.2% of you said yes. 99%. That's what I'm talking about. I got 99 problems and oppression ain't one. Okay. So we are getting it done up in here. So clap for yourselves. And I think we should just, and I'm clapping for the Black Business School because this has been my life's mission. I probably put 30,000 hours of labor into building this thing. And I'm inspired by people like Booker T. Washington, who understood many years ago when he built Tuskegee, he knew that building institutions and systems, that's how we're going to make our people strong. That's how we're going to make Black people great again. So that's what the Black Business School is. It is your institution, it's your school, it's your university. Wear that Panther proudly. You all asked about getting like the Panther on some apparel and stuff. We got that set up. Just give us some time, and you can wear your little Panther and just be proud of that because this is our stuff. Like ownership and control is the key to power. On this planet, like what you own and control is what determines your fate in America and around the world. Don't let anybody tell you different. So anyway, all right. So let's jump in and let's talk about where Black wealth comes from. And as I get started, I want to remind everybody, don't forget our stock options certification program, COIN, starts tomorrow. So if you want to, I don't know if it's too late to join for this cohort though, but if you are interested, it stands for Certified Options Investing Network. We teach you about stock options from A to Z. You get a certification and you are then qualified to teach other people. So if you're interested, you can go to drboycecoin.com, drboycecoin.com, and talk to a representative and see if you're interested in being a part of that. All right. So Kelvin's from West Texas. Great. I love West Texas. I used to live in Killeen, Texas, actually, when I was a baby. My daddy was in the military. Shout out to all the veterans. And Killeen, Texas is where I kind of cut my teeth as a human being. I remember being a 4-year-old running around Killeen and getting in all kinds of stuff. Could have got kidnapped by some people and taken across the Mexican border and never been seen again. But it was the 70s. It was a wild time. All right. So anyway, let me jump in here and let's start with this one. So we're going to read my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. Now, if you want to get a copy, I will sign a copy and send it to your house. My daughter's in the other room right now, shipping copies out. We reduced the price of the autographed books from $40 to $15 for those of you that are in these programs. And you can resell it. You can order 50 copies, 100 copies, start a whole business around Black wealth if you want to. And you literally can sell the book for the retail price if you want. I heard my autograph means something. I think I'm a little bit internet famous. I didn't know that. Dr. Frazier is giving me the same award. He said we're giving an award, the Icon Award, and the winners of the award are going to be Robert Smith, the richest black man in America, Ben Vereen, the actor, Tyler Perry, who makes a lot of really interesting movies, and Dr. Boyce Watkins. And I said, "How dare you compare me? I can't be in the same class as Tyler Perry. I don't know how to make those movies. I can't make a Tyler Perry movie. But anyway, so apparently my autograph means something. So if you want to resell it and make it a business, let us go into business with you. Like let's partner together. Like we'll ship the books. We'll be the dope man. We'll supply you with the books at a low cost. You can then go talk to your friends about Black wealth, talk to your church, talk to your family, and then when they say, "Hey, I'd like a copy of that book," you can say, "Oh, I've got 50 copies of Dr. Boyce's book. It's autographed in my basement. I'll sell it to you for $30." And then people will pay that. It's worth far more than that. It's a bestseller. So feel free to do that. All right. So here, I'm going to start with the preface. Let's just start reading from the very beginning. And I'm going to, as we're reading, I'm going to connect some of these ideas to economic theory so that you'll understand the premise and what I'm really trying to say in this book. And by the way, if you want to get that copy of the book, I forgot to mention, the URL is 10commandments.boycewatkins.com. So if you go to 10commandments.boycewatkins.com, that's the only place you can go to get the discounted copy. So that's 10commandments.boycewatkins.com. I said it 3 times, so I hope somebody can type it in the chat. All right, because there's always somebody that's like, "Can you say it again? I missed it." So if somebody could help them out, I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, so here's the preference. This book is written under specific conditions of which you should be aware. First, this is not a how to get rich book for individuals looking to maximize their 401k or invest in the stock market. I have other material for these purposes. Secondly, it's not a book for all people of all backgrounds. Truth be told, I wrote this book for Black people because we have a job to do. Our job is to reverse hundreds of years of discrimination and exploitation and the expropriation of trillions in Black wealth that continues to evade our community. I wrote this book for us. I didn't write this book for anybody else. If you guys didn't want it, then nobody would want it because I don't tell other people to stay away. I don't go around saying I can't stand white people. I don't do that. But I'm not trying to be here for everybody. I'm here for you. I'm here for us. I'm here for this, right? To solve a problem, you gotta focus on the problem. If you're trying to be everything all the time for everybody, then you're gonna miss out. And so we're on page 2. So let's see. This book is also designed to lay out a framework to understand how trillions in black wealth are lost every single year due to poor cultural habits and family structure. The black family is inherently a multi-million dollar institution. So you were born. If you got how many of y'all got a family? Give me a yes if you have siblings, children, parents. Anybody got? If you don't have a family, then we can be your family. We will be your family. I will love you. I can be your adopted daddy. You can call me Uncle Boyce. You call me. You can make me your adopted son. I'm signing up for all of that. I sign up. I volunteer for all positions and for those that are looking for family. But a lot of you have family. So one thing I want you to really understand, you got to internalize this because I have economic theory that can prove this. I can prove this mathematically. If you got family, you were born wealthy. You may not think you were born wealthy. You may have been deceived to think that you didn't have any wealth because you didn't have any money. Money, those little worthless pieces of paper that are printed out by the Fed. And they are worthless, by the way. They're only worth something because we decide that they're worth something. Money is backed by the full faith and confidence in the federal government. And if people lost confidence in the dollar would plummet. So they are inherently worthless, but they gain value. They gain value because we believe in these little green pieces of paper. So what I need you to do is I need you to believe in your little black pieces of paper. I need you to believe in as much in the value of your family as you believe in the value of that man's paper. Do you understand? I need you to believe in yourself just like you believe in him because you believe in his institutions, you believe in his currency, you believe in his culture, you believe in his talent. Do you believe in you? Do you see the value in you? And as we go on, you'll understand how valuable the family is and what the family's worth. And I'll give you 1,000 examples to make sure you understand this. But I just want you to really practice internalizing this idea. You were not born poor. Stop letting anybody make you believe that you were poor just because you didn't have money. I lived in the projects and we used to eat bologna sandwiches with no bologna. I remember the day my mama paying $50 a month for us to live in LaSalle Place. That's the name of the project that we lived in. I remember roaches being in the house, stuff like that. But we have so many other things that money could not buy, and I really encourage you to just understand that. So let's keep going. So this book is designed to lay out a framework to understand how trillions in black wealth are lost every single year due to poor cultural habits and family structure. Okay, I mentioned the black family being a multi-million dollar institution. Consider this. Imagine a family with a mother, father, and three children. Each of those individuals grows up and works for a big white corporation, as we are taught to do from birth. Assume each individual earns about $40,000 per year, but the companies they work for are profitable. So they are able to convert their labor into a marketable product that earns them $60,000 per year. Also assume that each person is in the labor force from age 20 to age 70. Fewer and fewer people are able to retire at 65. This means that each person in the family, let's exclude inflation for the sake of this exercise, is offering $60,000 per year for 50 years to a big white company. That's $3 million per person times five people. That's $15 million in black wealth. So it's $15 million in wealth that you transferred to other people just because you all got up and went to work every day. Multiply this over 8 million families, and you have trillions in black wealth lost in the course of a generation. All of this wealth leaves our community and ends up in the hands of others. This is an admittedly sloppy example because the numbers are not precise. I didn't include inflation, rising wages, or compound interest. However, the goal here is to make a very simple point. White people stay wealthy because black people are trained to make them wealthier every single year. And this is the stuff that makes white people afraid of me. I'm not anti-white, but I am anti-lie. I'm not interested in lying to you. I'm not going to tell you something that's not true. And so if me telling the truth about how our wealth was stolen makes people uncomfortable, then I can't help you. That's between you and the person who told you the original lie. In this book, I want to discuss wealth leaks that occur due to not properly optimizing the massive wealth potential of the black family in America. I won't spend much time on poor consumption habits and other losses. Instead, I want to focus on the structure that a black family should consider if they want to win the game of wealth in America and around the world. The black family is an absolute gold mine of possibility. The parent who raises his or her children in such a way that it enhances the family business will rarely have serious financial problems. Your family members are a form of human capital that is often neglected when we go our separate ways, cut each other off, undermine each other's success, and don't support one another. All of these habits came from slavery and continue to this day. So while we can easily understand why black wealth was never built in the first place, most of us are incapable of understanding why it continues to decline. You're working really hard. You're getting up and going to work every day. I mean, how many people in here consider yourself hardworking? How many of you work 30, 40 hours a week? What do you think? Give me a yes if you put in 30, 40 hours a week for a company or whatever, right? So you've been working really hard, and it should be that if you work hard, you are rewarded for that, right? If you work 30 years and you have worked hard for 30 years, you should be financially secure. You should be safe, right? And in fact, my wife sent me just today, my wife shared with me a news story about a poor lady who is the lead singer for In Vogue, who is living in her car, and she's 59 years old, living in her car. And I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "How are you're the lead singer for In Vogue and you're living in how did that happen?" And so what that makes me think about is that there's so many of us who will have a lifetime of work behind us, getting up, going to work every day. Some people, even celebrities, that have been busting their butts consistently and don't have anything to show for it. Right? If I said to you, if I said, go back and I want you to show me that you still have 10% of all the income you earned in 2017. Show me where that 10% is at. A lot of people say, I don't have any, I have 0%, right? And this comes from not being able to establish the right type of economic consciousness at an early age. Okay, so I'm gonna keep reading here, and just in case, and by the way, if you have questions or something, I won't see the question because I got ADHD. My wife thinks I'm on the autism spectrum or something. She said, I think you have Asperger's. I said, are you calling me an Asperger? That's worse than an ass sandwich. But anyway, so because my wife, and this is how I win arguments now. She wins arguments. Being married to a therapist is hard work. So she wins arguments by diagnosing me. I win arguments by owning the diagnosis. So I come back and I say, you need to stop picking on me because apparently I'm disabled with my Asperger's. So you should not pick on disabled people. That makes you a bigot, ma'am. So you need to back up off of me. So I'm gonna own it. Shoot, you throw that at me. You throw some lemons at me. I'm gonna make me a big bucket of lemonade and just be drinking it right in front of you. So anyway, so that's why I can't. If I answer questions, if I'm looking at the screen too much while I'm reading, I will go back and forth, and then next thing you know, we'll be talking in outer space, and y'all be confused. So I got to focus on cause I got the Asperger's. Okay, all right. So anyway, let me keep going. All right, so this book is not meant to be written for academia, where the work tends to go over the heads of most people. Much of the original research on economics I did during my time on the faculty of Syracuse University has rotted away in dusty academic journals that nobody ever reads. So do not expect a long list of citations and references at the end of this book, since it is based on common sense, blended with theoretical constructs I've created as I've analyzed the black wealth problem for 30 years. If you don't believe me, that's okay. I'm writing for those who are willing to hear my point of view. Also, this book is not written for anyone other than the black community. My goal is not to obtain mainstream recognition or validation. That means nothing to me. My goal is to put black people first and to help us solve the economic problems that have plagued us for generations. So while I do not condone the hatred of any other group of people, I always put black people first. So let's keep going. All right. So let's jump into the first commandment of Black economic power. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to back this up with some economic theory so that we can really see the concept. And it might actually take a couple sessions for us to get through this. And if you aren't on the text list to get invitations to save money in the morning or something like that, or the Powernomics training, just text the word morning. Actually, text the word money to the number 87948. So if you text money to 87948, we'll send you stuff, and you can take a look at that too. All right. So commandment number one: always be an asset to your family. Always be an asset to your family. You do not want to be a liability if you can help it. Or if you are a liability, you don't want to be a long-term liability. I knew a man years ago who was the baby of his family. His mother raised him and his four siblings all by herself. They didn't have much money, and he grew up with his older sisters to protect him. Now, do you see where this is going? Does anybody know a black man who was raised without anybody holding him accountable? Anybody know that guy? You might have one in your family, and you can say it's about women too as well, but it's different for women. The dynamic is different, but the broken family is a real problem in the community, right? So this is, imagine him being the baby, having older sisters and a single mother who pretty much, unfortunately, did never forced him to be a man because in her mind she was always his baby, right? But then they get older and they start making babies, and causing all kinds of havoc, and she's bailing him out of jail and all that. Anyway, in addition to providing necessary protection, the young man's sisters made the mistake of coddling him a bit too much. When he got in trouble at school, the consequences were minimal. He also never learned how to provide and protect the way a man, or in a way a man does, largely because his father was nowhere to be found. So he had a terrible father who abandoned his responsibility too. His father was not involved, and his father was an alcoholic as he became an alcoholic. So these things become intergenerational. At about the age of 18, he went to jail for the first time. His loving mother borrowed money so she didn't have to, so she, sorry, that she borrowed money she didn't have in order to bail him out. At this point, he was locked out of the economic system and ran the streets with his friends, playing basketball, hanging out, and getting involved in drugs and alcohol. He got a few girls pregnant during his younger years, and his mother took care of the kids for him, even paying his child support. A few years later, he went to jail for the second time. Now he was a broken 32-year-old man with no education, no jobs, no opportunities, moving from house to house and woman to woman. Whenever his mother would see him, he was usually in a bad situation. No one in the family ever expected him to be doing well. All they would measure were varying degrees of bad. Can y'all relate to this? I want you to take a minute and process what I said and to think about an example that you can that you maybe have seen where this happens. This happens a lot. As his mother grew older, she found that she couldn't cover for her son anymore. She couldn't handle the women and the babies. She stopped bailing him out of jail. She even had to stop taking his phone calls because it was exhausting to keep telling him no whenever he asked to borrow money. Later in life, the man's mother was on a fixed income with her drug addicted son calling to borrow money. This was until the day he died. So he died before the mother because he was out in the streets. Things happen in the streets. We know this, right? And so she had to bury her son. The boy's mother died a year later. She died right after her son did. This is a true story. Heartbroken after losing her son in his 40s. No matter how old he'd become, he was always her baby. This story is familiar in too many black families. Far too often, we have relatives who were never taught their role in the family and how to be an asset to those they love rather than a liability. All of us know about that person in the family who can't take care of their own kids, can't make good decisions, and can't get their act together. The problem has worsened since the CIA allowed for the importation of massive amounts of crack cocaine and other drugs into the black community. Now millions of our children don't even know what it's like to have two loving parents. They think that having two parents in the house is for white people. I talked to a young lady I mentored and I asked her, I said, all the girls on the basketball team, well, first of all, there was 12 girls on the team, 10 of them dated girls, 10 of them, so 10 out of 12 had no interest in dating boys. Also, they engage in interesting behavior that really was a product of social engineering. They would get in fights. They would fight over girls. They would be in the a bathroom and having fist fights over who's gonna get this girl to be their girlfriend. And I asked her, I said, how many of the girls on your basketball team have a father in the house? And she thought about it for a really long time, and she said, None. Like none of the like and this is not normal. This is chaos. This is absolute chaos. This is some Lord of the Flies type stuff. This is kind of crazy. But this is the product of years of systematic dysfunction, and this is why I don't trust systems. These systems that are out here, I do not trust them because these systems have destroyed us in so many ways. Let me keep going. Many parents can't speak to their children. The black family has been so horribly harmed by drugs that we should have a zero tolerance policy on all mind altering substances. I don't know why we can watch Whitney Houston die early, watch DMX die early, watch a rapper die every 2 weeks, and not really stand up and say, stop rapping about drugs, stop promoting drugs to the kids, stop making drugs seem like they're okay. They're not okay. There was a Columbia University professor who was a black dude. He's super liberal, right? So he was running around talking about like how he likes to use a little bit of what was the drug? I think he talked to it wasn't crack. It was like meth and heroin. He's like I like to use a little heroin to take the edge off and somebody said, well, Doc, why don't because I had a daughter that went to Columbia. One of my adopted girls went to Columbia, and so they said, well, why don't you have him on your podcast so he can explain his position? I said, I don't want to hear what his position is. I respect the man, but you're talking about a traumatized community where drugs has wiped out entire freaking generations. I'm not gonna cuss, but y'all know what word I was about to say. I'm like, you're talking about a community where drugs have devastated us. Why are you running around talking about, oh yeah, you can take a little crystal meth and get you a little heroin and what did white folks teaching you up there? Like what the hell's going like that's that weirdo That's that weird white people stuff. No dis if you're white, I'm sorry, but y'all weird sometimes. And I was like, no, I don't even want to hear it. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm saying I don't want to hear it. We need a zero tolerance policy on mind altering substances. And really, we need to think about what alcohol does. Most of y'all, many of y'all, give me a guess in the chat. How many of y'all got like a drunk ass uncle or a cousin or a sibling who drinks too much? And you've seen him destroy his life or her destroy her life over alcohol. I talked to a young brother the other day. Every now and then I love talking to young people because I love. I told you I love being Uncle Boyce and Daddy Boyce. I just when I talk to you, I'm going into daddy mode. You know, you're 25. I'm old enough to be your dad. I'm gonna give you advice that I think your dad should give you. And we were talking, and this young guy, hardworking guy, he was a filmmaker, and he told me about his ex-girlfriend and his child's mother, and that and I remembered him telling me that she had a substance abuse issue and that she refused to get therapy. And I said, well, I don't know if you should be in a relationship with somebody who refuses therapy. I don't think that's healthy. I think that you should want people that want to get better. And so anyway, I talked to him a year later and I said, so how did things work out with your child's mother? And he said, oh, she died. She's dead. And I said, really, what happened? He said, it was the alcohol. They got her. Right. And everybody tried to help, but that's what got her. So I'm sitting here in my mind, I'm visualizing, okay, so now you're raising this son who's 6, 7 years old. Mama died, and these are things that are preventable. And this is what really just bothers me. I think that generally, as a community, I think we need our own policies on things. That's my point. I think you got to disconnect and say, well, I know what their policy is. So you got to understand that their policy should be different from your policy. Why is that? Well, because I know a lot of things about America when it comes to the money. And America is a capitalist society. So many of their policies, many of the things that they tell you are okay and safe are not okay and safe. They're not healthy things, right? So they tell you that they were telling you that opioids were safe and healthy because the FDA was paid money by by big pharma to say that these things were okay. And next thing you know, you have an opioid epidemic, right? So you have to make your own policy based on what's best for your family. Black first means you first, and it might mean health first, your mental, your physical health first. So I'm gonna just tell you, when I was at Syracuse University on the faculty, I used to I got into a fight with another black professor because I said, stop encouraging these young people to drink every time you get together for a party. That don't make no damn sense. You're supposed to be a mentor, man. Why are you inviting them to happy hours every email I see is a happy hour? But I didn't realize he was an alcoholic and he thought I was just being too serious and you're not fun and you're this and you're that. I'm like, no, I'm not fun because I see how many kids get raped under the influence of alcohol. I see how many students ruin their lives under the influence of alcohol. They're 19, 20, 21 years old. They don't know better. They make bad choices under the influence of alcohol. You go look at Southern University. A young brother just got killed in a fraternity hazing ritual, and I bet you somebody had been drinking that night, right? So it's up to you. It's up to us. We got to be the leaders of our community. That's what I'm saying. We got to step up. We got the mothers, the fathers, the leaders, the people that care have to stand in and say, no, this is my community. You're not going to come up in here with that chaos, feeding nonsense that's going to destroy our children. So anyway, let me keep reading here. But this is something I feel strongly about, and it's really a matter of confidence. You got to make the decision. Stop following the crowd. Stop trying to fit in. Why would you want to fit into a losing culture? I don't want to fit in with the losers. I'm fitting in with the damn winners. That's where I'm going. And if you ain't trying to win, then get your ass up out of here because this is not the place for you. Let me keep going. These failings in family and parenthood have become a massive emotional and financial drain on the family. Trillions in black wealth have been lost because of relatives who became liabilities to their loved ones when they should have been raised to be assets. The problem is further compounded by the devaluation of motherhood, where we've been led to falsely believe that working for your boss in a factory is more important than spending time with your own children. That's why I respect my friends from the Nation of Islam and Hebrew Israelites and things like that so much. It's because they understand how important the kids are. They understand that family matters more than your damn job. That's just, I'm not saying your job's not important. I'm sure if you're the executive vice president of green widgets at Coca-Cola, God bless you for that. That's really, really cool. But the idea that we have just traded everything related to family in exchange for a job it looks awfully strange when you imagine that. Like imagine a plantation where the people working on the plantation ignore their own kids so they can get a really nice job in the big house. That's pretty much what we do. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a career. I'm not saying you shouldn't be proud, but this idea that we can so easily just neglect family in exchange for career, that's a product of capitalism, by the way. Capitalism taught you that. 100 years ago, people didn't think that way. So let me keep going here. Sorry, but your oppressors taught you this nonsense. This is not who you are. One of the most valuable resources God endows you with at birth is the presence of people. Human life and labor are worth trillions, which we've known since the days of slavery. For hundreds of years, whites have been able to buy and sell slave labor for large sums of money and even use it for the acquisition of property. The point here is that your children, if you raise them properly, can become tremendous assets to your family. Children who are raised to be assets to the family can help perform many of the functions we typically obtain from the government and corporations. Our kids can provide a low-cost, loyal workforce for our family business. Again, our daughter is in the other room right now shipping books to you. If you ordered a copy of this book, the book will come to your house. Just know that she shipped it. I signed it, she shipped it. Teamwork. They can provide financial backing when times get tough, right? So this guy who was showing up to his mother's house to borrow money should have been showing up offering something, offering help. Hey mama, can I cut the grass? Hey mama, you need anything? Hey mama, are you okay? But instead he showed up as a little baby even at the age of 45. Let's see here. Um, they can provide various forms of protection and physical security in old age. Uh, of course, all of this is reciprocal because we all invest thousands of hours and dollars into raising our kids. We feed them, clothe them, and provide guidance, love, and various forms of support all throughout their lives. So many children, if raised to understand their sense of responsibility to the family, are very happy to return the favor. Asking your children to support the family is not a form of exploitation. It's the kind of relationship that helps everyone in the family survive. So here are some rules in terms of interacting with children and things like that. Again, these are things that just came from a mix of what I know about economics, but also just common sense. So one rule that I have is that trade is always better than charity. So when turning your children into family assets, one rule to consider is that trade is better than charity. The world is not a place where people are going to line up to reward you for doing nothing. As a child, my parents used to say something that may sound depressing on the surface, but was quite sobering over time. Nobody cares that much about your problems. Don't get me wrong, there are people who care about everybody and everything. They might loan you money, pay your rent, or come through for you in a difficult situation. But from what I've observed, even the best of friends have their limits. If person A is always draining person B, causing him problems, disrupting his life, and only showing up for person B whenever they need something themselves, then person B is going to eventually get fed up. This is for a good reason. None of us is an infinite resource. So most of you probably know somebody who always shows up with their hand out. Anybody know what I'm talking about? They show up, you go to dinner, when the check comes, they don't even look at the check because they know that they're not paying. They know that you're paying. Anybody got friends like that? Or maybe when they call you, if you have a problem, they got to go. They don't have time to talk. But when they got a problem, they want to talk all day. Anybody else? See, so these people are emotionally selfish, maybe financially selfish, constantly broken, and they see you as an asset and they lean on you, and you've positioned yourself. You've chosen to be that asset for them, and they've chosen to be a liability for you. So it's a symbiotic relationship. You're the giver, they're the taker. Some of you are even married to people like that, right? Or dating people like that, right? So this means both of y'all need therapy, not just them. It's not just them that's screwed up. It's you that's screwed up too. I take it from a screwed up person myself. I'm black too. All right. So here's the deal with trade being better than charity. Let's keep going. We've all got friends and relatives who think the world owes them something. They seem to always have the worst luck. Everything that goes wrong is always somebody else's fault. These individuals, in my view, were never raised to understand their role in being an asset to others. Rather, they are a liability. This is where child rearing comes into play. When I speak to my kids, I share a concept called quid pro quo, which means something for something. Dr. Claude Anderson talks about this in his book, Powernomics. Powernomics.com is his website. Every child should read Powernomics. Now, this doesn't mean that I always expect them to pay me back for anything that I give them. It also doesn't mean that they should assume that everyone is trying to exploit them. Instead, it's a general framework to empower them by leaving them with the assumption that you aren't always going to get something for free. Sure, your mother might always be willing to give you something for free, but the world is not. Also, when your mother will grow. Sorry. Also, even your mother will grow tired if you're constantly borrowing money and giving her nothing in return. Also, consistently leaning on charity from others disables the person who receives the charity, and it drains the person who's always coming through as the superhero. It can further stress, so it can add further stress to the recipient who now feels indebted to the person providing the charity. I found that trade is a stronger economic engine than charity. There's a documentary that I saw a long time ago called Poverty Inc. And in this documentary, Poverty Inc., one of the things that they talked about is that basically that these charitable organizations who claim to be helping all these African countries are actually keeping them in poverty. And they said the reason they're keeping them in poverty is because charity is a type of addiction. It teaches a lack of, shall we say, accountability. It teaches a lack of empowerment, right? It says to that African country, it says, no, don't develop your own industries, don't develop your own businesses, don't learn how to make your own products, because we're just going to come through and we're going to come and just write you a check. We're going to come through, or we're going to give you free stuff. We may not even write you a check. What we might actually do is we're going to come in and we're going to just give you the thing that we think you need to have, right? So if we see an African country and the babies need shoes, then we're going to undermine every shoe manufacturer in that country by giving away free shoes. But we're not actually going to give you the money to buy the shoes or the materials to buy the shoes or the skill sets to make the shoes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go and use poverty porn. I'm going to take images of starving, poor little African kids. I'm going to market that to other white people, market that to other Europeans, and they're going to give me billions of dollars. And then I'm going to take my fee off the top. Then I'm going to take that money and pay my other white friend billions of dollars to make shoes for the poor kids in Africa. So you're not going to get the money. But you're gonna get the shoes. Do you understand? Do y'all understand the hustle there? Do y'all see the problem with that? That literally the money, you don't get to touch the money, you don't get to touch the means of production, you don't actually get to learn how to fish. But we're gonna deliver plenty of fish to your doorstep after we pay our friends to fish for you. So when I'm running the charity and raising money on your behalf without asking you your opinion, without even asking you how you want to be represented, without asking you what you need, I'm going to take that money and I'm really just hooking up my friends. I've created a whole industry around your suffering, which means that as the do-gooder European who's allegedly helping the African country, I can only stay in business as long as you broke. I only have something to market if you are in the middle of economic hell. So I have no incentive to fix the problem. I'm like big pharma. My incentive is not to make you healthy. It's not to heal you. My incentive is to help you manage your illness. Make sure you're just sick enough that you always need me, because when you stop needing me, I'm gonna have a problem. Do you understand? So this sort of poverty cycle, that's something that happens in a lot of spaces. So ultimately, charity is okay as a temporary mechanism. I'm not saying you should not give to others. You should give to others a lot. I give a lot, but charity is not sustainable. If anybody is that person where you're just constantly giving to others and ain't nobody pouring back into you, that's gonna kill you. You're going to become. Somebody said the word symbiotic means parasite, so maybe I shouldn't use the word symbiotic. Maybe I should use the word reciprocal then. How about that? How about reciprocity? I apologize if well, you're talking to a guy who failed biology class, so I probably messed it up. My apologies. Didn't mean to give you the image of like the movie Alien. But anyway, so no, the parasite model does not work. What you want to have is something where it's like I pour into you, you pour into me, and because we're connected. By pouring into you, I'm pouring into myself. Do you understand? When you pour into me, you're pouring into yourself, and then we formed an ecosystem. Ecosystems are beautiful. Economics, that's the fundamentals of economics. That's why what the words of people like Dr. George C. Fraser are so important and so powerful. He teaches you how to connect to each other and to help each other out and to see each other as part of the same body. To see the world as something bigger than yourself. This is a spiritual idea. This is a type of consciousness. Are you truly a conscious black person, or are you just a Negro who uses the word conscious and don't even know what it means? You're not even conscious enough to know what the word consciousness actually means. This happens a lot. So ultimately, these ecosystems are taught. They can be taught to children. Basic ideas. My father used to tell me stuff like, "Well, family's supposed to help out family." Or you don't lie to family. You never steal from family. Stealing from family is the worst thing a person can do. Things like that, right? And ultimately, this is a culture. So when you have this in the culture, when you have everyone understand, like, no, you're on the team, you're on the basketball team, but you can't just ride the bench. When you're on the team, you got to score some points too. You got to, or if somebody else is scoring the points, you can set a pick, you can play some defense, you can scramble for loose balls. But one thing that will not be tolerated is you sitting on the side watching everybody else do all the work and you pretend like you're disabled. If you are an able-bodied adult in your right mind, then you can add something of value, right? So it's really an attitude, it's really an approach. So let me jump in and I'm going to show you guys some economic theory that really connects to this idea so that it can sink in and you can sort of see ways to apply it. All right. So here, I found something. There was a guy named Becker at the University of Chicago who did work on a really important topic you should understand called human capital. And all human capital is basically the economic value that a human being can bring to your life. And I really think human capital is a concept you want to be familiar with. I think that if a lot of women were to think about human capital before they slept with some of these men, they would probably have a better life. Like I just jokingly tell young ladies I mentor, I'm like, I don't know if you should really be sleeping with a man who can't bring nothing positive to your life. I think it's okay for men to think that way too, and to appreciate the human capital, starting with the fact that if you are with a woman, she can give you children. She can, give life to your DNA. I mean, that's pretty powerful human capital. But then on top of that, is that person that's in your life, whether you're talking about relationships, friendships, or anything else, are they adding value? Are they taking away value? And the amount of value they can add or take away, a lot of times comes down to how they've invested in that human capital, right? So, for example, a skilled person brings more human capital than an unskilled person. A hardworking person brings more human capital than a lazy person. A person with education brings more human capital than a person with no education. A person with a network and connections brings more human capital than a person that has no network, no connections. A person that loves you and cares about you brings more human capital than a person who does not. So Becker's human capital theory from 1964 basically says that investments in education, skills, and health increase a person's earning potential and productivity. Families that prioritize education and skill development, I'm saying it slow so you can take that in. Families that prioritize education and skill development create long-term economic advantages, leading to higher incomes, generational wealth transfer, and social mobility. So if you have a family that values education, if you have a family that values skill development, if you have the family that's always encouraging each other to learn a new skill, pick up a trade, get something that you can bring back to the family, then that will improve your incomes. It will improve your intergenerational wealth transfer. It will also make you more socially mobile. So the next thing, there's another theory by Lucas and Moll from 2014 called the dynastic wealth model. This is pretty powerful. This theory suggests that families with skilled and knowledgeable members accumulate wealth across generations. All that means is that education matters, right? That means that you want to encourage each other to learn things. But here's the thing about education that's really important. I was explaining this to a young black college student. I said, make sure you understand that education is essential, but some people confuse education with going to school. There are a lot of people who go to school for a very long time, but they're not educated. Um, and this is the great fallacy that I think hits us as black people. Some of y'all went to school for a long time and somebody convinced you that you were white. They really did. They taught you everything the white kids were learning and you navigate the world like they do. And then, when little things pop up like racism or you get excluded because you're black or you find that your networks and connections are not the same as theirs, you just get all mad and sad about it. Right? And then that's how the politicians manipulate us. They say, well, just vote for so and so and they're going to make it better. Well, I say you start off by voting for yourself. And I think you start off by really questioning the whole process in the first place. Why is it that most black kids from the very beginning are trained to work for white people? And it's crazy. It goes all the way to the top. This is sinister, man. This is stuff that they put this stuff in place hundreds of years ago. A lot of our HBCUs were designed to just simply train black people to go work for white people. They didn't say we want to empower the black community and make them economically independent. No, they said we need them to have more human capital so they can come dump it on our table so they can give it to us. so they can come and work for us, and they will take pride in working for us. This is a culture. We take pride in getting that fancy job and all these other things. And what I'm saying to you is, I'm not making fun of you if you have if you got your little black job and stuff. Good for you. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not making fun of you. But what I'm saying is that black jobs don't equate to black wealth. A black job is not going to create black wealth. If it does, then prove me wrong. Because y'all know we got millions of black jobs, but black wealth is going down. How is that? How is it that you are so skilled with your black job? You don't work so hard. You don't showed up to work every day on time for 30 years, and black wealth is declining. That don't make no sense. That's a rope a dope. So really, the thing that really makes this such a critical conversation is that we must separate education from going to school. Just because you went to school doesn't mean you were educated. My goal is not to bring you to school. My goal is to give you an education. I want you to learn all the things that you learned in school. Sure, absolutely. That's important stuff. But you have to understand how economics works and how to make sure that the labor that you're putting into this society and the human capital you're developing stays in your family, stays in your community, and benefits you on some level. Because if you don't, then you're going to end up working your butt off and end up 65 years old and saying, "Gosh, I've worked really hard for 40 years, but I don't have anything." That's by design. And they don't just do it to black people. They do it to us the most because we're kind of the easiest because we have that whole slavery thing. But they do it to everybody. Anybody who will fall for the banana in the tailpipe, oh, they'll put a banana in your tailpipe. They don't care if you're not black. They do it to white people too. They do it to Chinese people. Anybody who shows up unprepared and uneducated about how the system works, they will be very happy to exploit you because capitalism is a beast that has an infinite appetite. They'll eat up everybody's wealth. They don't care. So let me keep going. Let me keep reading here. Um, just a reminder, if you want to get a copy of this book, I'm reading from my book, The Ten Commandments of Black Economic Power. We've invited you to become Black Wealth Ambassadors. And if for those who don't know, we've offered this autographed copy of my book. Instead of paying the $40, you can buy it for 15. You can, if you are rich and you want to just buy a bunch and give them away, that will be a great favor to the cause in educating your people. If you want to sell them at $30 or a higher price, whatever, my autograph will be in here and you can make it into a business. I invite you to do that. That's a win-win-win situation. You win because you can make extra money. I want to put money in your pocket. That's the goal. The Black Business School wins because we have to raise money. We don't take money from the government. We don't take money from corporations. Those are two things that we do not do. We don't get caught up with goofy celebrities and stuff. There are some celebrities that we admire because they do the right things, but most mainstream stuff is not really of that interest to me. And just as a side note, Chris Broussard. Does anybody know Chris Broussard on Fox Sports? Chris Broussard is a guy that I invited to speak at the All Black National Convention. He happens to be a mainstream guy. If you watch Fox Sports every morning, you'll see Chris Broussard. But the reason I invited Chris is because Chris is a 100% complete black man. I've seen him they really put him to the test. They really put him under the fire. And this man did not buckle. He did not fold. He stood strong. He was 10 toes down on the black family, on just on supporting our youth, supporting our young black men. So he's the only person I could think of, honestly, to invite as a speaker to the All Black National Convention because we ain't got time for fake people. So anyway, that's what we believe in. So if you want to join the Black Wealth Ambassadors Program, a couple of things you could do. You could text the word wealth to the phone number 87948. So if you text wealth to 87948, I'll send you the link where you can buy the book cheaply. Or if you want to go there right away, you can go to tencommandments.boycewatkins.com. All right. So let's read a little more. So we're talking about trade being better than charity. So here's one example. When my children come to me asking for a significant sum of money, I respond with a very simple statement. I do not see you as a charity case, so I challenge you to come to me with a proposal. What am I investing in? My goddaughter, who attended Columbia University, understood the process first. She would come to me with a proposal to receive a sum of money along with a plan for repayment and execution of the objectives she was set to achieve with my investment. My return on investment is not financial. It is seeing my child use my resources to do something positive for herself that will make her into a greater asset for her own life and also for the family. So even when she agrees to repay the entire amount of money, I usually give her 30 to 50% of the money back. By doing things this way, it keeps us out of the guilt box. She doesn't owe me anything and isn't indebted to me. Also, I am not hit with the unfair pressure of constantly trying to solve someone else's problems. Children who understand such rules are typically the best to leave in control of some portion of your estate or family business when you are old and deceased. B, if I love you, I won't just feed you, I will support you economically. One tradition many black families have is to get together for Sunday dinner. The way to show love to each other is to offer them something to eat. These gatherings are a wonderful opportunity for us to catch up with cousins that we haven't seen in a while, watch the football game, or engage in family prayer. After Sunday dinner is over, many of us head in our respective directions for the Monday morning drag of going to work for whichever toxic corporation has economically adopted us. So during the time when our multi-million dollar families were gathered, we spent exactly no time discussing ways to improve our individual and collective economic condition. For many families, it is taboo to talk about money. Avoiding financial talk is unhealthy because it is the lack of discussion about money that causes so many family economic disasters. Money is one of the most important variables in your life, yet our kids know nothing about it. Is there any sport or job in the world you can participate in with no training whatsoever? I mean, think about it. If your son is a football player, he's going to go to football practice. If he's a basketball player, he goes to basketball practice. Your daughter that wanted to be a cheerleader, you sent her to cheerleading camp. You wanted to become a certified nurse's aide, so you went to school for that, right? Some of y'all became lawyers or doctors or engineers, and you went to school for many years for that. But for whatever reason, we jump into the game of economics and we don't get any training and we think it's going to work out okay. Is that logical? I want you to just pause on that for a minute. Like, does that even make any sense? Is that logical? And let's add to that. Another thing that's really important for you is your family. If you have a family, if you have children and you have a spouse, keeping a marriage together is hard work. It takes skill. Raising children is hard work. It takes skill. But where did you get training on how to do that? Did you read books on it? Did you talk to therapists? There's experts. You know, there's lots of research on this stuff, right? There's lots of templates and guidelines and blueprints. Do you get any of that? So why is it that when it came to your black job, you went to school for many years, you got a lot of training to prepare to do your black job at the highest levels, but when it came to the really important stuff, like your relationships, you got no training at all. When it came to your wealth, you got no training at all. When it comes to your mental and physical health, just knowing how to hold it together, you didn't get any training at all. You could learn things like meditation and stuff like breathing exercises or whatever, simple stuff, conflict resolution, whatever. Physical health. Look at how many of our people die early from preventable causes. Look at how many right now. I talked to a doctor, Rogers. His last name is Charles Rogers, I believe. He's one of the leading he's one of the leading experts in the world on I think it's like colon cancer. I think he studies black men and colon cancer. And he said that we have an epidemic of black men getting colon cancer and dying very early. Chadwick Boseman, my mother just died from colon cancer. And this is some. And my grandmother died from colon cancer. I'm kind of nervous, right? Because I'm related to those two people. And this is the kind of stuff that should send alarm bells out, right? Not just Floyd, George Floyd being shot. That will cause a massive panic, lots of conversation. But when a medical doctor like Dr. Rogers steps up and says, black men are dying like crazy from colon cancer, people just they don't even you don't even blink an eye. You just keep going on with life as usual. So I think again, going back to the difference between education and going to school, a lot of people go to school a long time and get no education at all because if education does not give you the ability to prepare for the most significant aspects of your life. I dare say this. I'm going to say this clear. Make sure you understand this. If your education does not give you preparation in the areas of your life that matter the most, then your education was a waste of time. There you have it. That's it. If your education does not prepare you, again, you got to start. This is the mathematical concept of dynamic optimization. It says that to solve a problem in the optimal way, you start at the end and you work your way backward. You say, what am I trying to accomplish? And then you work backward and say, okay, these are the skills I need to accomplish the goal. So like, I want to climb Mount Everest. So now I got to start from the top of the mountain, work my way backward to figure out where I need to start. So if your education does not give you the essential skills to help you succeed and prosper as a black person in this damn country, then your education was a piece of crap. It was worthless. No wonder you're mad that you owe $200,000 on a bachelor's degree that gives you zero essential skills to do the things that you have to do on a daily basis. You should be mad. You got tricked. You got tricked out of it. And here's the other thing too. This links to the poverty thing. Remember I was telling you how the goal of the poverty organizations is to keep countries in poverty, so they don't actually give them the money they raise. They'll go and give their friend the money to make a product so they can dump the product onto the people and don't give them any say in where the money or what the money's used for. The same thing reminds me of a question somebody asked me one time. They said, "How is it that I can go to college and I can get me a student loan for $250,000, but I can't go to that same bank and get a business loan for $10,000?" Has anybody ever wondered that? Has anybody wondered why you can go to college and get $250,000 worth of loans, but you can't get a $10,000 business loan from the same bank? Anybody ever notice that? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Well, it's similar. It's the same principle. It's them giving you $250,000 student loan. That don't mean they're giving you $250,000. They're giving you $250,000 worth of overpriced education. That's what they're giving you. They're saying we're taking this product that's really worth about 5 or 10 grand. We're going to inflate the price to $250,000 and then give it to you. And then you're going to owe us $250,000 in real money. You got to pay us in real money. We don't have to pay you in money. We're paying you with education. That's what we're giving you. We're giving you something that's cheap, and you're giving us something that's real. Do you follow the logic? Do you understand? See, because so the bank gives you $10,000 in a business loan, they got to give you $10,000 in cash. I bet you anything that no university that gives you or your child a scholarship for $50,000 is willing to let you walk in with a piece of paper and say, "Can I convert that $50,000 scholarship into cash, please?" They're not going to sit there and count your money out at the counter and give you 50 grand. They're not doing that. Why? Well, because that $50,000 scholarship really kind of doesn't exist. It's not real. It's not real money. But we think it is. You know, like right now, we got one of our kids is going to college, and all the universities like, we're gonna give you 40,000. We're gonna give you. She got $500,000 in scholarships already, right? Rapidly approaching $1 million. And don't you think that if we could call these schools and say, just send us a check, and we're going to take the $700,000 and we're going to go buy her a stock portfolio, and she's going to be able to live off that for the rest of her life, do you think that they would do that? No, they'd be like, no, you don't understand. We're not really giving you money. We're just giving you a discount. That's what they're doing. We're just reducing our price a little bit for you, but it doesn't cost us anything to do that. It's not like we're really trying to give you money, because if they were willing to give me, if they gave it, literally, I'm a PhD in finance. Do you know that if they gave her $750,000 in cash, I would instantly say, okay, here's how we're going to make sure you never work for anybody for the rest of your life. We're going to go in, we're going to buy some shares of Meta. We're going to buy, y'all who do stock options know what I'm talking about. We're going to get you 1,000 shares of Meta. You're going to sell the stock options every month, and you're going to make $12,000 a month selling the stock options, and you'll make over $100,000 a year, and you don't even have to go to college now, and you don't have to work for anybody. You could just like go on vacations and live your best life for the rest rest of your life. You actually don't have to like do this whole like go to work every day thing, right? So really, what this speaks to, and I've mentioned this to you all before, that the most important thing that a young black person can have is not a college degree. It's a capital base. It's a capital base. It's some assets to invest. If they have money to invest, which you can easily create for them through things like the $5 a day plan. We talk about this all the time. They're fine. They're good. They're safe. They don't have to deal with all the nonsense. All the racism that people deal with on their jobs happens because they have to go to work. And the reason they have to go to work is because nobody made an economic plan for them. Because if somebody had made a simple economic plan for them, they would be in a position where they didn't have to go to work every day. There's a big difference between going to work because you have to versus going to work because you want to. They call that freedom, but black folks don't know nothing about freedom. We don't really want to know what freedom actually looks like. We just like to talk about it. It's the truth. Because freedom's not hard if you just listen, if you pay attention. I'm not making fun of anybody, but it's true. I'm sorry. It frustrates me. I'm gonna be honest with you. Um, but anyway, let's keep going here. Let's keep going. So we're on page 14 of the book, The Ten Commandments of Black Economic Power. If you want to get discounted copies, I'll sign it for you, send them to your house, get as many as you want. You can go to tencommandments.boycewatkins.com, tencommandments.boycewatkins.com. All right. Okay. Let's see here. Here we go. All right. So money is one of the most important variables in your life, yet our kids know nothing about it. Is there any sport or job in the world you can participate in with no training whatsoever? If I love you, wouldn't I want to help you solve the most difficult problems in your life? Our perception of money being a taboo subject needs to change right now. Instead of showing someone you love them by cooking a meal, also show your love by supporting their business. Sunday gatherings can be used as a time to invite loved ones into economic opportunities or to offer personal networks that might be valuable sales channels for those you love. You can talk about real estate acquisitions, or at the very least, let your loved ones know what you're up to, right? So have those economic conversations that will make sure that everybody just kind of has an awareness of what everyone else is doing in case something is going on that is beneficial. You'd be amazed how many times I have literally seen a multi-million-dollar business form because one person just told the other one what they had going on. They just mentioned like, yeah, I was doing such and such. Oh, you're doing that? Oh, really? Okay, can I get involved with that? And next thing you know, the magic happens, right? It's what I call financial fertility. And to have fertility, you must have fertile economic soil, right? Fertility occurs with a certain environment, right? Whether you talk about nutrient-rich soil that you're growing vegetables out of. If you grow, you can't grow vegetables in the desert, but you can if you have some nice nutrient-rich soil. Or if you're talking about human fertility, if you get in a room with a pretty lady and you turn on some Marvin Gaye or some Luther Vandross, and the mood is right, then that's a fertile space, right? Things are going to happen, right? So ultimately, you have to think about economic fertility, spaces where I'm kind to you, we're working together, we're talking to each other, we're communicating, we want the best for each other, and then next thing you know, economic possibilities emerge out of that. And this is where things like therapy come into play because it's very hard to create a financially fertile space that isn't built on trust and connection, right? If I trust you, I connect with you, I like talking to you, then I want to do business with you. I want to do things with you, right? Maybe I want to make babies with you. Maybe I want to make businesses with you, right? Things like that, right? But if you're not a healthy person, if you're toxic or everything is a trauma response or you're ego driven or whatever, like for example, that lady from In Vogue who is living in her car at the age of 59, what they don't talk about is that sometimes celebrities go broke because they get blackballed because they're not great people to work with. They wear their ego on their sleeve. I'm not saying this is true for that person, but I can say that people talk, and I know a few celebrities who had strong opinions about that particular person, and I'll just say that much. I'm not saying anything else. So with that being said, though, um, let's finish up here. So basically, if I love you, I will help you succeed economically. Anything else is just a bunch of talk. C, the ultimate crime is stealing from loved ones, and this includes borrowing money that you don't pay back. My father's a great man. He's not always a good man, but he's a great one. As a great man, he made a lot of tough decisions on behalf of our family and always kept us on code with one another. It is because of my father's ability to make strong decisions that I have a very close relationship with my family to this day. Not much drama, just love and connection. This doesn't happen by accident. Part of this connection was driven by my parents consistently sharing the rules of relationships with my siblings and me. In their minds, there are codes of behavior that family members should follow, and it is entirely unacceptable to violate these codes. One of the codes is stealing from loved ones. In the words of my father, there's nothing lower for a man to do than to steal from his own family. Those words stuck with me through the years as I would hear about people getting hooked on drugs and stealing from their relatives. When it came to non-melanated people, I would hear chaotic stories about relatives conspiring to take their parents' fortune, kill a loved one in order to obtain the inheritance. But besides the obvious kind of stealing, there are more subtle ways that people steal from family. One is when you borrow money and you refuse to pay it back. Think about it. You have a loved one who cares about you so much that they are willing to give you access to their hard-earned money. They need their money back. And even if they didn't, it's still their money. To my surprise, I've seen within my own family and others several instances of people borrowing large sums of money from their relatives and never paying the money back. In some cases, the person would even act as if the loan never took place. Has anybody ever had that happen to them? Give me a guess if you've ever been financially traumatized by somebody who borrowed money from you. And it's the same routine. They're always super nice. They always swear that this is a one-time thing, that it's going to be fixed. And they're people that need stuff, that like people that are financially desperate. They're like the most polite people that you'll ever meet in your life. Like they're really helpful. They answer the phone on the first ring, and they overcommit, they overpromise. And you say, okay, well, just pay me back in a couple of weeks. Okay, well, I'm gonna get paid on Tuesday, and I'm gonna go. Where are you gonna be Tuesday at 4 o'clock? I'm gonna come see you right after work, and I'm gonna find you at your job, and I'm gonna give you the money, and I'm gonna give you some extra. And then, like they really are really like really 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 like in just positively engaging with you, right? They're so nice, right? And then you loan the money because you care about this person and you want to be nice and you want to help somebody out. And then everything changes. It's crazy. It's like drugs almost. Everything changes. Suddenly, they're not picking up the phone on the first ring anymore. You talk to them on the phone, they got an attitude. Maybe they have an excuse. If you can even get them on the phone, and suddenly Tuesday at 4 o'clock goes by, and ain't nobody paid you back. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, a week goes by, 2 weeks goes by, and it's crazy to me. It's real. I really wonder, like, what planet do these people come from that really think that it's okay for you to go borrow your relative's last dollar and then forget about it. Just act like you ain't get it. And then when they finally catch you, they catch you at grandma's house, so they chase you down and get you on the phone. You gonna have an attitude now? Well, if you keep talking to me like that, you ain't gonna get none of your money. Oh, that just burns me up. I don't know how y'all feel, but if you, just so you know, if you are one of my relatives and you're watching and you borrow money and you never pay me back, I really am talking about you right now. I'm really talking about you. Don't you dare call me no more. Because it's crazy to me. It's absolutely, and I was fascinated with that because I was like, what is wrong with these Negroes? What is going through their head to make them think that this is appropriate behavior? This is not appropriate. This is financial trauma. This is traumatizing. Because now a lot of y'all, I bet you right now that if I was to ask y'all, how many of you have a rule that says I don't loan money to relatives? Give me yes, come on, be honest. How many of you right now pretty much have a rule that says I do not loan money. If people want to borrow money, I do not loan it. Anybody, give me a yes, right? I bet hundreds of you, there's over 1,000 of you watching. I bet hundreds of you are gonna say, yep, me, I don't know money. Nope, nope, not at all. How did you get to that point? I bet you didn't get to that point. You weren't at that point in the beginning. I bet you there was a bad experience that you had where either somebody didn't pay you back and you were mad about it and traumatized from it, or you had to fight somebody you love, and next thing you know, you lost the money and you lost a friend, or you lost the money and you now you ain't talked to your cousin for 10 years. I remember I was telling y'all my cousin was in the group TLC, T-Boz, Tiana Watkins. Like we are related. Our grandfathers are brothers. And I found out later that I think and this is just a little family rumor. Maybe I'm wrong, but the family rumor was that they didn't talk for like 40 years because I think my grandfather loaned her grandfather, Sam, a bunch of money, and Sam did not pay the money back. That's what the story was. But maybe Sam's family side of the family has a different story. And I saw them together toward they finally got back together when they were both like 95 years old. So the story has a happy ending, but it was crazy that for 40 or 50 years they did not talk because of money. Money, money, money. Money does this to people. Money is powerful. And the thing about it is that this is something that has to be talked about. right? These are core values that can be instilled in children to help them understand you don't steal from your relatives. You can, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you should steal from anybody, but my view is like, look, if you're gonna do somebody dirty financially and not pay somebody, then do that to a stranger. Do that to Mr. Charlie. Do that to a corporation, but don't do that to your cousin. Don't do that to your best friend. Why would you do that? What who told you that this was okay? This is not okay. And the reason I'm talking about this is not because it's just an interesting, juicy topic. I'm talking about it because this is one of the reasons that black wealth declines. This is one of the reasons why the black economic ecosystem has underperformed. This is why it's hard to build black businesses and black economic relationships because there's so much trauma. It's just like so we have declining black wealth for the same reasons that we have a high divorce rate and broken families. Trauma, 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 trauma. You traumatize people, traumatize other people. So when people don't heal and don't elevate spiritually to understand their role in an ecosystem and the ability to create trust in a space, economic love and trust. Love cannot prosper without trust, right? Then you don't have anything going on. Your relationships fall apart, but also your economic relationships fall apart. I don't have an economic relationship with you because either you traumatize me or I traumatize you, or we're so scared that we're going to traumatize each other. So we just leave the money out of it. I sit there and I watch you go homeless. I watch you pass up $1 million business opportunities. I see you just literally just out here struggling, and I'm not going to help you at all because I'm so scared that if I loan you money, it's going to mess up our relationship. Things are going to go bad. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? And I'm gonna just tell you the truth. Every community is not like that. Every community is not like that. There are very wealthy Indian communities where they loan money to each other on a regular basis. They loan hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars to each other on a regular basis. If a cousin comes in and says, I have a great business idea, the family will pull together the money and say, yes, let's go buy that gas station in Detroit so the Negroes can't own nothing. How the hell is it that Detroit got all them damn black people and y'all don't own nothing? Somebody done came in and bought up all your damn gas stations because y'all can't come together like other people. That's crazy to me. That's embarrassing. We getting punked. People walk in your territory, take your stuff because you can't figure out how to get together and get on the same page. Nobody wants to heal. Everybody's twerking. Ain't nobody working. You up here talking big game and got all the Negro leaders that you want, all these people out here, civil rights leaders talking all this chaos, and y'all can't even get together and buy a goddamn gas station. That's insanity. That's crazy to me. And they come right in. Well, we saw the business deal and we thought that the business deal was good. So I called my cousin Pradeep and we raised $1.2 million and we bought the gas station and we own things above 8 Mile. We own things below 8 Mile. We own things all over Detroit. We own this city. The black people, y'all just props and consumers. That's what you are. You're just people that will make sure that Pradeep and his family get wealthy because we don't have a code. We don't have economic codes of conduct, economic codes of behavior. This starts with the family. It starts with keeping the family together and making sure that the family understands the rules of the game. You can't build wealth without stable families. So I'm sorry, I don't know about y'all, but I feel I'm angry. I get mad about this because it's really, it brings out the competitive side of me. It's like being a basketball player and somebody coming on your home court and beating you by 50 points in front of your girlfriend. Like that's humiliating. Your home fans are watching you get pummeled by other teams because you can't even come up with a game plan. That's ridiculous. That has to stop. That can't be what it means to be black. Because if that's what it means to be black, and I'm turning in my Negro card today. I'm not trying to be black. No, I want to be a black man. I don't want to be a nigga. I don't want to be a Negro. I don't want to be none of these things. I want to win. I want to win. So ultimately, if you're talking about what it takes to build a strong economic ecosystem, you have to have trust. Trust gets violated when people get traumatized. When you steal from a loved one, or when a loved one steals from you, you feel like you were financially raped. Nobody is gonna want to have a relationship with somebody they think might assault them. So even something as simple that you might think is like just kind of a thing that just sort of happens, people not like borrowing money and not paying it back. No, that's massive. That's huge because you might have a relative who's got $100,000 in the bank, who's scared to invest in anything with his loved ones because he's afraid of getting screwed over. And he will go invest with a white man, Asian man, Indian man before he invests with a black man because he does not know what that black person is going to do with his wealth. That's a very scary, terrifying position to be in. Let me keep going. All right. Let's finish up on this key idea, okay? And just a reminder to everybody, if you want to be a Black Wealth ambassador, text the word wealth to 87948 and you can buy stuff from us really cheap. And if you want to make it into a business and resell, you can. It helps you, it helps us, it helps everybody. So I really encourage you, if you like these ideas, I don't want you to just internalize them. I'd love for you to execute some of them. Some of you have families, some of you are part of a church, some of you are part of fraternities and sororities, some of you are part of other groups, and everybody needs money. Everybody wants to understand wealth. And we're, we are experts on black wealth. That's what we do. And so I'd love to support you in that. So text the word wealth to the phone number 87948, and I'll send you some information. Also, we're doing a stock options certification training that starts tomorrow called COIN, which stands for Certified Options Investing Network. So if you'd like to learn more about that and speak to someone, just go to drboycecoin.com, Dr. Boyce Coin, Dr. Boyce Coin. Okay, so let me give you a couple more economic theories that links to the idea of being an asset to your family. So we talked about dynastic wealth, the dynastic wealth model by Lucas and Moll, which basically says that families that have skills and knowledgeable members of that family tend to accumulate wealth across generations. Parents investing in their children's knowledge and entrepreneurial skill lead to higher financial returns long term. So when you train your child to be able to start a business, and this is one of the core values of the Black Business School, every Black child should know how to start a business by the age of 12. Even if they never become an entrepreneur, they should still know how to start a business because those who can think entrepreneurially are better at economic survival and prosperity than people they can't. People that can think entrepreneurially can see wealth more clearly than others. They can see wealth even when there's no money in the room. They can see economic possibility. So the dynastic wealth model pretty much says that when you invest in your children's knowledge base and their entrepreneurial skill, they have more wealth. Also, when you should be buying stock for them when they're babies. So the developing a culture of business ownership, financial education, and mentorship within the family is extremely important. Now, there's another theory I want to introduce you to that connects to the idea of being an asset to your family, and this is Bordeaux's social capital theory from 1986. So basically, social capital, which relates to relationships, networks, and trust. There's that word trust. We talked about trust earlier. These are major contributors to economic success. Families that have strong intergenerational networks tend to provide better job opportunities, business partnerships, and financial support for each other. So if you want to apply this, then what you might do is create family investment groups, make a conscious effort to support each other's business ventures, and also use your connections strategically with each other. And there are other theories like the collective household economics theory from Minter in 1974. These studies show that families who pool their resources and specialize in skills create more economic stability. So when you are a family and you come together and you pool your wealth and you defend each other financially, you have more economic stability. Most Americans are not economically stable. The reason most Americans are not economically stable is largely driven by the fact that most Americans are not encouraged to take family seriously. They're not. They're not encouraged. You're young and you're 28 years old. You got it popping. You're supposed to be out here sleeping with everybody and making babies everywhere and all this stuff. There's not a conversation about the honor and the privilege and the importance of being the head of a household, the head of a family. People don't value that anymore. And I think that they do that deliberately because they want you out here scrambling as a single mom because then you got to go to work. You can't build wealth because you're scrambling, you're trying to survive from day to day. They want you struggling out here as a baby daddy with six babies mamas. You can't build wealth. You're trying to get by and survive to next Friday. How are you going to be thinking about the next generation when you're trying to get through next week? So ultimately, what this theory says is that families that pool their resources and specialize in skills, create more economic stability. They are actually economically safe for various reasons. They go deep into financial theory, but I don't have to explain all that to you because you understand what I'm saying. Spouses and family members who divide tasks efficiently, focuses, like for example, if you have a household where one person focuses on making the money, another person focuses on managing the money, or another person focuses on taking care of the household, those families actually tend to do better. I was explaining to a young lady I mentor who was a single mom and she had had a couple babies baby daddies. And I said, I wish I could sort of help you see what I'm talking about. I said, me and my wife, we work together as a team. There's things in this house I never have to do because that's my wife's job. It's not because we have gender roles specifically of things that you have to do. It's because these are things where I might say, I don't want to do that, but she wants to do it. Like cooking dinner. I'd never cook dinner. I'm a terrible cook. I don't want to be a good cook. I don't like cooking, but I can buy the dinner. I can buy the food, right? And that's what I told her. I said, look, I'll buy the food, but I ain't cooking it. I don't want to cook. That's not fun for me. And she said, well, I don't mind. I like cooking. And so my wife and the kids do all the cooking, right? I have to admit to that. But I do certain things that add value as well. And you just sort of delegate. You split up responsibilities and you have teammates. Life is easier. See, I wish young people really got this, and I hope you'll tell this to any young, because I don't know how old you all are. I assume most of you are over the age of 35 or 40, because sometimes you have to have wisdom to understand these things. But I hope you'll encourage your kids, like give them $10 to listen, because they need to hear these things, right? They get out here, and all of them are struggling. All these people, all the Gen Zers are broke. They're scared. They don't know how they're going to pay their bills. And the biggest thing I always notice is that whenever somebody gets on TikTok crying about how they can't pay the bills, that person is almost always single. You rarely see a married person who has a productive spouse in a good family on TikTok crying because they can't pay the bills. It's always somebody who's single. And what's happened is that you're seeing the fun of being single and the freedom of it. And it is fun and it is free. I get all that, right? Sex is fun. Sex is nice. But you're not understanding that there's a bigger game being played. And that if you don't at some point grow up and get into the bigger game, you're going to be playing little kids games for the rest of your life. And you're going to be 50 years old, still living that young single life. And you're going to still be in the same economic pothole that you were in before. And so I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm just saying that this is what I see. All right, so let's keep going here. Last one is something called the entrepreneurial spillover effect by Houghton and Rosen from the year 2000. This research shows, pay attention now, that children of entrepreneurs are more likely to start businesses themselves. So that means that as you as a parent, a lot of you, how many of you have some type of business you've started, or some type of LLC, or maybe just entrepreneurial conversations in your household? Anybody sort of have that kind of thing where you're trying to do? I want you to acknowledge yourself. Shout the name of your business in the chat if you want to. Let everybody see it. If I see it, I'll shout it back. Well, here's the deal. Some of y'all's businesses are probably kind of raggedy, right? I'm not saying the D's contracting is raggedy. I'm not saying the salon properties is raggedy, but some of y'all are probably, struggling and stumbling through it, and you're mad, right? You're not making no money yet. It's kind of hard. I get it. I've been there. I've been there. I know. I know. I mean, it feels it just feels terrible sometimes to start something and have it not work. A Fat Boy Meets. That's such a funny name. Anyway, but here's the thing. What I want you to understand is that even when your business isn't doing everything that you wanted to do, because maybe you're first generation, what you're really doing is you're really planting a powerful seed in those children who have a very high likelihood of becoming second generation entrepreneurs, right? Like I'm sure Walt Disney's father, who was a struggling businessman, I'm sure he had no idea that his son was going to go and create one of the greatest companies of all time. Right. I don't think Martin Luther King Sr. knew what Martin Luther King Jr. was going to accomplish in his life. And what I'm saying to you is that sometimes our job is not so much to dance in the end zone. Sometimes our job is to block for the people who will dance in the end zone. Sometimes our job is to clear the path. Sometimes my job is not to finish the relay race. I might be the first leg of the relay race. Do you understand? So, what I would encourage you to do is understand that just by making that little shift in behavior, just by sort of even opening the possibility, like just bringing, remember, again, I say this with complete confidence as a person who is a complete expert on financial stuff. I don't know everything, but it's really hard to get a PhD in stuff. It's very, very difficult. I can tell you that the stuff we cover in this class is cutting edge stuff. There's no white, Jewish, Asian space where you're going to hear ideas that are more advanced, nor will you hear ideas that are more specifically, uniquely designed for the black community. This is black economic surgery. So when you take these ideas to your kids and you take them to your family, I need you to understand that you are planting a generational economic steroid, if you will, except it's a positive, it's a vitamin, if you will, or it's a long-term impact that you probably can't even see. just by making those little pivots, those little shifts, and stop worrying about how much money you made this week. Stop worrying about how much the business grew or how successful you always feel. You're probably going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. But just by having conversations with your kids about economics, some of the kids of the parents in this room are going to become billionaires. It's gonna happen. I guarantee it. So let me keep going. So the entrepreneurial spillover effect, it also says that exposure to business ownership within the family increases financial acumen, resilience, and risk-taking ability. So you don't just you shift their economic knowledge of the children by talking about ownership. And you can start by owning shares of stock, talking about what that means. It increases resilience. Resilience is just the ability to not give up. A lot of black wealth dies because people just quit. They give up. They try for a while. It doesn't work out. They just walk away and give up. Most successful business owners, wealthy people, are people who just didn't give up. And then also risk taking. Risk taking means that you do things and you start things knowing that there's a good probability you're going to fail. So part of creating good economic soil means that you got to deal with the fact that in many of your families, you've always got with that person I call the Negro naysayer that's sitting around, and the Negro naysayer is the person that always has a problem for every solution. They don't like solutions. They only like oppression. They don't want things to get better because if things get better, they'll have nothing to complain about. And also, if they don't like believing that we have a choice, because if we suddenly have a choice, that means that they can't be lazy anymore, right? Because if I say I have no choice, like if you say, "Hey, boys, take out the garbage," and I tell my wife, "Well, I can't take out the garbage because there's too much snow outside and the garage is blocked," then if she says, "Well, no, boys, the garage isn't blocked, you could take out the trash one," then I'm gonna be mad because now I got to take out the garbage. Now I got to do the work, right? So a lot of people, they love oppression because oppression gives them an excuse. It gives them a wheelchair before they even test out their legs to see if they can walk. And so they sit in their little wheelchair and they say, "I'm black. I can't do nothing. I was born poor. And, my daddy was the son of a sharecropper and he left me 2 nickels before he died. And it's hard for me because the police are trying to kill me and my life is terrible." And then they don't want to try. They don't even want to try, right? So you've got the Negro naysayer in your family. And what the Negro naysayer does is they are the person who's waiting for you to fail because your failure is a confirmation of what they already believe. I remember when I was in college and I used to study all the time, and I had the highest grade point average of all the black students on the campus. And I remember talking to a black girl specifically. I never forget this. And she said, "I don't know why you do all that studying. You only gonna go as far as white people want you to go." And I remember hearing that, and I was so mad when she said that. I would never hit a woman, but I wanted to kick her in her face. And I went to my mom and I said, "Yeah, she told me." She said, "You only gonna go as far as white people want you to go." And my mother said, "Well, how far do you think she's gonna go?" And I said, "I don't know." And she said, "Well, as far as white people want her to go." That's the limited. She was simply reciting her worldview and giving a reflection of what she sees in her own limited vision of what she's capable of. So a lot of people will limit what you're capable of because they know what they're capable of. And you accomplishing something that they can't do themselves might be deeply offensive to them. So the Negro naysayer will be waiting for you to fail. And it becomes very detrimental if you listen to that person too much. Because here's the deal. Here's the reality. When you decide you want to try something different, when you decide you want to start that business or whatever, there is a high probability that you won't be successful. There's a very high probability that you might pivot, 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 and still not ever get to where you're trying to get to. So if you know that that's the case, if you know there's a high failure rate of black-owned businesses, I think it's 85%. Why in the world would you try to do it? Why would you do that? Well, because somebody's got to try. Somebody's got to go out here and build the businesses that are going to create the jobs for our community. Somebody's got to go out and give us some infrastructure in our community so we don't end up begging white folks for jobs for the rest of our lives and 10 generations down the line. Somebody's got to go out here and get it done. And the other thing too that I have found is that even in the midst of failure, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. You really never lose. You really don't lose. And really, even if you quit, which really I just say, well, if I never give up, then I never lost, right? But even then, there's always a lesson in that experience. And what you do is you learn how to pivot the lessons so that you can make sure that you got something out of the deal. See, a loss, something that feels like a loss can either be an expense or it can be an investment, right? So it's up to you to decide which one it's going to be. So when I have something that doesn't work out and I'm feeling mad, I'm feeling bummed, I say, okay, well, let me go through and salvage this and see what valuable lesson. Like I paid tuition in the school of life. I'm wiser now. How am I wiser? How's this going to help me? How is this pain going to help me avoid a failure later on down the line or make me wiser, stronger, and smarter? Because I don't know anybody who's wise, strong, and smart who ain't been through something. Most people, I can't help you get through nothing if I ain't been through nothing. Do you understand? Like so it's like I can just tell you, getting my PhD was a long string of nothing but toxic pain and failures and trauma. It was very difficult. But I finished. I got to the finish line, but I can tell you that all that was built on a big pile of failure and hardship and crying at my desk and being upset. And there's nothing like most people will never know what it feels like to study 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, including Christmas, and still fail your exam. What the hell, man? It was horrible. It was like I can't do this. So, so what I'm saying to you is that generally speaking, people that are good at something, like if you talk to like a Navy SEAL, like a lot of Navy SEALs, they've been beat up and shot and broke legs and like what, right? Like most people that are really good at things have gone through hell in order to get there. So sometimes, that thing that you may think of as failure and pain and misery and disappointment, that ain't nothing but God's training camp. That ain't most people who are great at anything are typically standing on a mountain of pain and difficulty. You got to go through hell in order to get to heaven. That's what I'm saying to you. So go through, fight through whatever you got to fight through, fight those generational curses. Don't give up, believe in yourself, go hard every single day, and I guarantee you that something good is going to come out of that, and also something really good is going to come out of it for your children. That's what you want, in my opinion. Okay, all right. So anyway, thank you guys for listening. It was great to see you. And again, if you want a copy of the book at the discounted price, I'll sign it for you and send it to you. Just go to 10commandments.boycewatkins.com. And if you want to join our Black Wealth Ambassadors program and resell the books and make money for yourself, make it a business like that. This is what I'm going to repeat this a lot. I want you to know this because sometimes new people come in, but I want to reiterate to you that I believe that we need a black-owned school system, and the black-owned school system isn't going to look like a regular school system because we don't have billions of dollars, but we got billions of dollars worth of this, right? And so my vision of a black-owned school system is one where I help set it off, and all of you that want to educate your own people are gathering people 10, 20, 30 at a time, and you're all reading books like this and other books and talking about your economics. Next thing you know, Black people, B1 people become the most economically advanced group of people on the planet, and people won't even know how it happened. Right. So this is the vision I have. So if you want to be a Black Wealth Ambassador, text the word wealth to the number 87948, and I'll do my best to send you resources that'll support you in that process. And I encourage you to just go for it. Don't be scared. Life is too short. We will win. We are the greatest. We can't be stopped. So I will see you all tomorrow morning for class. If you're not on the text list to receive an invitation to Money in the Morning class, just text the word morning to the number 87948. So text morning to 87948. I'll send you an invitation tomorrow. Have a good day, everybody. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening. See you soon. Bye bye. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I hope you guys are having a great day. Welcome. It's so good to see you. Welcome to Money in the Morning. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and it's always good to be black on a Wednesday. Yeah, today's Wednesday, right? I lose track of the days. Oh my gosh, this is just crazy. What's wrong with me? I'm just losing my mind. But anyway, did y'all hear about that thing at Southern University? Where the student lost his life, um, you know, over some hazing incident. It was really, really stupid to me and really, really sad. And that was on my mind today because I just think stuff like this is just crazy. I heard Madam President talking about it on Fly Nubian Queen. And Madam President, she does a show every single day. Her and Constance Carter. If you want to be notified when they do their show, just text the word Queens to the number 87948. So text Queens to 87948, and they will alert you when they are doing their show. And and they and so the thing was that apparently this young man, Caleb, I got to look at what's his last name, Caleb Wilson. He was a 20-year-old junior studying mechanical engineering at Southern University. And basically they took his life, and they took his life because young people make mistakes, and he lost his life because there is apparently there's a lacking of intergenerational transfer of knowledge in our community because had these young people talked to someone like me, I could have told them 50 other stories similar to this that happened in the 1980s, 1990s, the 2000s, and the 2010s, and how many people have ruined their lives by engaging in bad choices on college campuses. That's what would have happened if I talked to them. Because I believe, I'm a weirdo or a nerd, but I believe that the job of older black men is to educate young black men so that they avoid the same mistakes of their fathers. I saw that, I talk to young people and I say, yeah, I remember when your father took his first drink and now he's been an alcoholic for 30 years. And I'm very sorry that your father was encouraged to be the wrong type of black man. And I'm very sorry that we live in a community that doesn't really value us really focusing on being our absolute best. I'm sorry that we live in a community that trains us as men to make horrible choices and put ourselves in horrible positions. And then we whine and cry and say, oh, the white man did it. The white man tricked at us again. The white man is always doing this and doing that. And I agree. The white man is sinister in his own way. He could be debaucherous. He can be an SOB. But at the same time, my question is, what are you doing? What choices are you making? A lot of your choices, if you got seven babies, mamas, the white man didn't do that. The white man wasn't sleeping with all those women. That was you. You chose to do that. And so really, at the end of the day, I kind of am an advocate, and this is where I end up upsetting a lot of people, but I'm an advocate of saying, come on, we got to man up. And manning up means means leveling up your intellect, leveling up your decision making, leveling up your discipline, leveling up your financial choices. If you're broke, part of the reason that you're broke might be your parents' fault. Part of the reason you're broke might be your boss's fault. Part of the reason you're broke might be society's fault. But part of the reason you're broke is also your fault. I mean, I'm not saying that something's wrong with you or that you're a loser if you're broke. But my question is, if you are broke, are you choosing to stay broke or are you going to fix it? Right? Are you choosing to die broke just because you were born broke? Because that's a choice. That's a choice. I have a whole PhD in finance and I talk to thousands of people every morning. You could come to class if you want to. But apparently you've got better things to do, and that's okay. I respect that. But don't turn around and then say that, well, I'm broke because the white man done did it again. The white man did it again. This is not a Scooby-Doo mystery where it's like, oh, shite, all quirky. The white man tricked it me again. Like a Scooby-Doo where they pull the hood off and the white man's like, I got you, Negroes. Right? That's what we do. I think sometimes we don't sit back and say, okay, what are we doing? What could we be doing better? So I'm going to talk about a little bit with this young man, Caleb Wilson, and it actually links. This is again another financial conversation. You may not think it's financial on the surface, but there are a lot of actual economic theories that relate to the bad choices that were made in this situation. Also, before I even dig into that, I want to ask everybody, how many of you noticed how much money you had this morning in the stock market? Anybody notice your stocks go up today? That your wealth went up this morning? How many people saw your wealth go up? Give me a yes in the chat. I hope I see a lot of yeses because I want everybody invested in the stock market. So the stock market shot up today because there was a good inflation report. And remember, I was telling you guys in class, we spent an hour and a half last night deep diving on specific strategies you could follow with stock options that would allow you to make money. It was a really intense class. A lot of you were there. And basically, one thing I mentioned to you yesterday is that typically it's darkest before the dawn. A lot of times, most of the time, whenever you have a day where the stock market just explodes, when you have a day where it's like, oh my God, so much money was made today, usually that's after a really bad week. That's because when things go down, in many cases, they can only go up. So it didn't surprise me at all when I woke up and I looked in the portfolio. I said, oh, there's the money. Like it's here. It's here sooner than I expected. But at the same time, I want to warn everybody if you are invested that there will be another dip at some point, that you might want to prepare for the storm because right now you're in a highly volatile market. Things are just pretty chaotic, and you're probably going to have another decline. So if you're trying to sell some stocks or whatever, just think of it like you live in a city where the weather is really crazy and you get a bright sunny day. Well, that's the day when you go outside and you go to the beach and you dry your clothes on the clothesline and all this other stuff, and play in the park with the kids because you know that winter is always coming. Like Game of Thrones, winter is coming. So just know this as you enjoy the money that you're making today. So you may want to prepare. We talked about put options and ways to protect your portfolio. And if this is not your thing yet, if you're still trying to understand these things, we've got stuff for you in the Black Business School. Feel free to join us. In fact, the coin program, the certified options, I called it the Certified Options Income Network, but actually I forgot that the team and we decided to call it the Certified Options Investing Network because it's not just about generating income from options. You'll also be certified to teach others on how to invest in options and things like that. And we actually start our first cohort tomorrow. I teach this class myself. It's a small group, so you'll get a lot of individualized attention, small group attention. So if you're interested in applying, just go to drboycecoin.com, drboycecoin.com. We start tomorrow. That's when the cohort begins. Okay, so let me hop into this conversation about Caleb real quick. Hold on. I want to take a sip of my coffee because it's morning and, coffee makes life better. All right, so here are a few financial theories that will help you understand. These are things that economists have written about for many years. This is something that I think you should discuss with if you have children or grandchildren. They should probably come to this conversation, like share this video with them because I think that they need to hear these things. And number one is, and this was something that one of my dissertation committee members, David Hirschleifer, used to talk about and is herd behavior. Basically, economists have learned that herd behavior and risk taking in groups it tends to occur because people assume that others know best, or because they fear social exclusion. This explains why students engage in dangerous hazing rituals despite knowing the risks. So part of the reason that this poor young brother sat there and let these guys beat him up and everything else was, in my view, because maybe he wanted to fit in. He didn't want to, nobody wants to be the sucker. Nobody wants to be called a simp and all these other things that we might call each other when we don't conform. I don't care. I was called a simp when I got on one knee and honored my wife and asked for her hand in marriage. And I told all these guys, I said, y'all can kiss my ass because I don't care what you call me. I want to be a happy black man. That's what I'm gonna be. So you go follow the crowd. I'm going to go follow my conscience. And my conscience said that I want to be a husband and a father and a leader of a household. I do not want to be wherever you are right now. So you go do your thing. I'm going to do mine. What you say about me means as little as when white folks used to talk about me when I used to be all pro-black and they would tell me all these terrible things about me. I didn't listen to that either. So at the end of the day, this herding behavior is a problem. I think it's extremely important for young black children, especially young black boys, to learn how to be leaders. If you were here yesterday, you saw one of the goatiest goats of all time, Dr. George C. Fraser, who came to class. And what did Dr. Fraser talk about? Well, he talked about, and this is a man who's extraordinary. This is a man who has met presidents and CEOs, and he's friends with Robert Smith, the richest black man in America. And he came in and he talked about the 1970s and 60s when he lived with his brothers. His older brothers had gotten into heroin and they all were getting high. And George said, I'm not doing this. I love y'all, but I'm not trying to be around y'all. I'm not trying to go down with y'all. And he begged his brother to go with him to move away to Ohio. His brother didn't. Next thing you know, his brother was murdered in a drug deal. His brother was dead. Well, I related to that story because I remember times where I was surrounded by other black men who were just not making the best choices. I had a biological father that got hooked on heroin. I had friends that became alcoholics. They pledged fraternities and one particular fraternity on my campus. I'm not going to call them out because I don't want them to feel bad because it would be wrong. But I remember noticing, I said, man, all of y'all get drunk every weekend. Like, is that like, and I saw one of my friends literally go to campus and he's 18. He's got his whole future ahead of him. He could have become anything. He was super smart and he joined this this freaking frat, and this damn frat, they were like, man, you gotta drink, man. Come on, man, you gotta drink, man. What's wrong with you, man? And they're saying this to me too. And I'm like, F all of you. I have alcoholics in my family. I don't want to look like you. I don't want my breath stinking. I don't want to go do something stupid. I don't want to get locked up. I don't want to get killed. I don't want to get arrested. So no, I'm not gonna drink. So, and don't you dare try to pressure me into that. But my friend, because he wanted to fit in and he didn't want the guys to think he was nerdy or whatever, he starts drinking. And I kid you not, to this day, 35 years later, he is an alcoholic. I mean, a stone cold, like bloated liver, could die at any moment, will pass out in the front yard, alcoholic. And I think to myself, and here's the thing. This is a financial discussion because what you don't understand is that every time they ruin a young black man, they're taking human capital out of the black community. Human capital is the value that a human being can offer to the community if he is functional, hardworking, decent, strong, and capable. This is what a strong black man is a multi-million dollar asset. You don't understand it. When a black like you can't tell me I'm not a multi-million dollar asset to my family because I've seen it. I've seen the cha-chings. I've seen the transformations. I've seen the leadership. I've seen the protection that's provided to my family. So you can't tell me I'm not an asset. My mama told me I was an asset when I was 12, and at that point I liked that feeling so much that I focused on being an asset to the people in my life. So a solid black man becomes an asset. A dead black man is no longer an asset. So this kid's dead. Now, all those years he would have spent as a mechanical engineer providing income, wealth, security, and protection for others is gone. Three other black men at least are going to go to prison. They're not assets now. Or they're going to have a harder time. I'm not saying that going to prison is the end of your life because we have a lot of citizens who have come back and they're doing their best, and I respect that immensely, right? But it makes it harder for you to fit in, right? Because you got the criminal record, right? Getting the job is much harder, and overcoming the trauma that you experience in prison is much harder, right? So literally. You've just seen this one incident, this group behavior, the inability to think for yourself to cause at least three or four black men to go down. These are college men. These are men going to, Southern University, one of the great institutions in our country. And I'm sure the people at Southern are as frustrated as I am, because this didn't have to happen. This does not have to happen. There's a million ways for somebody to have fun on a Saturday night other than punching each other in the chest and making each other drink urine and well, all these other stupid things that they do. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be honest with you. No disrespect if you're Greek. My sister's Greek, my brother's Greek. So I have nothing against anybody that chose to be Greek. But let me just tell you what my logical thought process was when they asked me to join all the fraternity. Every fraternity invited me to join. The reason they asked me was not because I was a cool guy. I never focus on trying to be cool because that's just not who I am. I was a leader. I knew who I was. I was always pretty confident about saying like, no, screw you. I'm not doing that because I had a father like that. And then also, I had good grades. I had the highest grade point average of all the black students on the University of Kentucky campus. So they all invited me because I would boost their GPA because my GPA was that high. Well, anyway, when they would ask me to join, I remember just being 19 years old and thinking about it, and it's an investment decision, right? I was like, so what you're telling me is, let me sip my coffee as I respond to your question. I said, so you're telling me that for 6 weeks you're going to torture me. You're going to wake me up in the middle of the night, and make me do stupid stuff. So I'll be too sleepy to go to class. You'll probably ruin my grade point average. You're going to humiliate me, mistreat me, maybe beat me up. And and then at the end of the 6 weeks, and to do for this to happen, I have to pay you money. So I've got to give you $600. At that time, that's what it costs. I remember the number because I didn't have the money. I was like, so I got to give you $600 so you can beat my ass for 6 weeks. And I was like, so what's the reward? Do I get a cash prize for going through this kind of torture? Because I could go a lot of places in the world and get my ass kicked for free. And they were like, yeah, but you'll be part of the group. We'll be your friends. We'll all be in the same whatever. And I was like, but you're my friend now. You know me because that's why you invite me to join your group. I don't even like having a whole lot of friends anyway, because you have too many friends, then people ask you for stuff. And I have enough friends. Like, what's the reward? It didn't make any sense it was illogical to me. And the only thing I could really think of is that maybe I would have been more interested in engaging in that whole process if I was maybe a lonely person who really wanted to fit in. That's where herd behavior comes into play. That's where maybe the inability to be comfortable with yourself comes into play. Maybe the need to fit in no matter what comes into play. Because in my mind, it kind of sounded like high school. I was like, I don't really care about trying to be in with the cool kids. I want to get through school, get good grades, and make some money. I want to go out here and win in this life. I don't want to. I don't care about you being my. What are you talking about? So anyway, that's one dimension in terms of looking at this. There's also something they call conformity bias in research and the sunk cost fallacy. So this is more of an investing concept, but it relates to what happened here with Caleb. And it says that when you invest time, effort, and sometimes money into something, like say joining a fraternity, you can endure extra hazing because you might believe in what they call the sunk cost fallacy of economics. The sunk cost fallacy is where you falsely believe that because you've invested so much, because you've come this far already, that if you quit, if you walk away, that you're going to lose everything you've invested. And that is true to some extent, but that does not justify additional investment. Actually, in the world of investing, the sunk cost fallacy is where you're throwing good money after bad money. You say, well, I've already invested so much money in this project. I got to keep investing a few million to save this dead dog, right? I'm going to bring the dead dog back to life if I keep on throwing money at it. And there's a point where you say, no, this is not where I need to be. I should not be doing this. And I think for this poor kid, and maybe he just didn't know. Maybe he had a medical condition, and that's why getting punched in the chest might have killed him. But it was sad to me because I've seen this happen. A lot of you that went to college, you saw stuff like that happen. And I've seen people get kicked out of school because they broke that rule. I've seen people die because of that. I remember a guy when I was at Indiana University when I first met my wife, and there was this guy, and he was a big he was a big tough guy because he's a big football player type guy. But he wasn't really tough. He was the guy that pretended to be tough. I could see through weak men pretty clearly because my father was strong and he was really strong. He didn't pretend to be strong. And strong men tend to be quiet. They're not the ones who are going to be loud and strong. They're quiet and strong because they don't have to prove to you how strong they are. They don't smart strong men don't want you to know how strong they are because there's no reason to show it to you. And in fact, they catch you by surprise, right? So basically, I can see when a man's like pretending, like, so don't pretend to be tough, just be tough, like, to really have some substance, right? So anyway, this guy was one of those like fake tough guys and big football player type. And I just didn't like him. I was like, you seem like a punk to me. And I remember this guy, he tried to pledge Omega Psi Phi because apparently at that time, all the big football player types, a lot of them wanted to become Q dogs and he tried to join, and I remember specifically he ended up in the hospital because I remember they tried to put cigarette butts out on his tongue. They were putting cigarette butts out, and I was like, "What kind of punk are you to let a man put a cigarette butt out on your tongue?" No disrespect to any Omega men that are in here. No disrespect. I got friends that are, so please don't take it the wrong way. But I'm sorry, you put a cigarette butt out on my tongue, I'm going to kick you square in your balls. Your testicles will ache because I'm gonna kick you straight. You don't you dare put that. No, you put that out on your tongue. You're not putting that on mine. And maybe that makes me I don't know. Maybe I'm not able to understand the value of the ritual, but I'm not going to end up in the hospital because I'm trying to be your friend or trying to be part of your group. That doesn't make any sense to me. And the other reality that's really truthful is there's so many other things in life that you're supposed to be doing later on that matter so much. There are businesses you will start. There are children you will have. You are going to be in a scenario where you're going to have choices in life that are going to impact other people. Why is this particular choice so important, and why are you sacrificing so much in order to do this? I had a friend that pledged, and I had one rival when in college with GPA wise. I was number one, he was number two, and he was one of my best friends. And I think that's why we became friends because we both kind of got into the whole like let's study hard kind of thing. And I remember he wanted to pledge a fraternity our freshman year. And I remember saying, I said, well, I read a book that says you shouldn't pledge your freshman year. Like, I don't think you should do that. And I also had a friend that pledged his freshman year and he became an alcoholic. He's still an alcoholic to this day. And I remember specifically when he took his first drink. And so my friend pledged anyway, and he did get into the fraternity. And I noticed a distinct change in his behavior. Number one, his grade point average dropped from 3.8 to 2.8. Number two, he became an alcoholic. He would drink from Thursday every week. We were still friends, but we would see each other like Sunday through Wednesday, and then Thursday night he would go off and he would get drunk with his friends. I wouldn't see him Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then I would see him again Sunday when he was studying to try to get ready for class the following week. I was studying the whole weekend. I had goals and I was focused on that, and that's what mattered to me. And I didn't care if everybody was at the step show. I wanted to succeed. That was it. And I didn't understand why that was so rare. I really started to question. I said, "What's happening in my culture? How come?" If I was Chinese and I said I want to make straight A's and I want to succeed in life, everyone would accept that. If I was a white boy and I said I want to go and start a tech company like Mark Zuckerberg, everybody would accept that, right? If I was a white woman, people would accept that. But as a black man, I would get, people would try to almost bully me with that. It didn't work on you can't bully me, but still they would, like what's wrong with you? Why you study so much? Why are you so serious? Like, you're a nerd. I'm not a nerd. You're a nerd. You're an idiot because this white man's gonna kick you in all up in your ass. Excuse my French. That's how I saw it. I mean, this is how my father talks, and so forgive me for that. But really, I'm like, he's gonna kick you in your butt because you are not prepared. You're gonna show up to the competition and you're not going to be ready. You didn't get any skill, you didn't use your opportunities, you didn't prepare for the future. And then when he kicks you in your butt, all you're going to do is you're going to lean on that old Negro spiritual. Oh, they did it again. Oh, they always oppressing us. We going to march with Al Sharpton cause they oppressing us. And I'm like, no, you oppressed yourself because you were in college right next to me, and I saw you at the step show when you should have been in the library. Right? You oppressed yourself because when you got extra money, you went to the club and you went to Applebee's and then you went to the mall and you didn't even listen when I said, why don't you buy you some stock so you can have some damn money? Like, you oppressed yourself when you walked away from education and walked toward debauchery, right? You oppressed yourself when you didn't take advantage of your opportunities. So really, what one thing I really think has to happen is there has to be a conversation about accountability, that we have to be honest with ourselves and really look at this and say, okay, you tell me that you're struggling, you tell me that you're broke, you tell me that your life is a mess. What role did you play in that process? And are you prepared to acknowledge that, or are you going to do what liberals pretty much tell you to do? And I'm not a Republican, so don't let's not get into that. But that's one of the reasons why I couldn't be a liberal anymore, because I was like, you treat me like a freaking baby. You don't talk to me like my parents. And my parents were like, your life is messed up because you messed up. You're in a bad situation because you made a bad choice. What you gonna do different next time? That's what I got from my parents. So when I come to the liberals, they're like, oh, well, because you're a black male, you're supposed to be laying on the street drunk and get shot by a cop, and then you're just supposed to be broken, you're supposed to be unemployed. I don't get that. I don't understand that. I'm thinking about preparation. And a lot of you think that way. That's why you're here. Like a lot of you, even like those of you that are soldiers and veterans and stuff. Like I think a soldier, I respect soldiers because soldiers are like, well, we should prepare. What's the plan? What are we going to do to make things better next time? I that's the language I speak. I don't speak this broken Negroese. I don't speak this whole like language of complete unconditional oppression where you are a partner in your own oppression by doing things that ensure that you're not prepared for the storm that is yet to come. It's like when we talk about stock market investing. I told you all today, a lot of you made money because the stock market went up, and I congratulate you for that. But I also told you that the storm is coming. So that means that's my cue to say, okay, get ready. Put the your batter up, get the windows covered. Start putting the wood on the side of the house. Like start getting ready because the storm is coming, right? And if you don't prepare, then that is a decision, right? Sun Tzu in The Art of War, he says that battles are won before they even start. Battles are won before they begin. And that all that really says is that preparation is the key to success. That's all it says. So let me keep reading here. Here's a couple more things on this whole situation with this poor kid at Southern University who got killed in a hazing incident. There's also something called social proof and authority influence. So if you, and this is another theory in economics, that basically social proof comes from something called the Milgram experiment in 1963, when they basically showed that people will obey authority figures even when the authority figures ask them to harm other people. So if someone is positioned as an authority figure, then like say a Dr. Fauci or something, right? People will follow the authority figure even if they don't believe what the authority figure is saying, right? So the other thing about this too that it's really interesting that's going to play out in this is that even the kids who don't go to jail are open to significant financial liability. When somebody dies, that's pretty expensive, right? That's something someone could sue you for, $1 billion or something, right? So if you're involved in a situation like that, and I think young people should understand this, and you get out of it and you don't go to jail, then chances are you will be hit by a civil lawsuit by the family because this family lost everything. They lost something that money cannot buy. So now you are going to have to deal with not just the legal issues, the possibility you might get arrested, or the issue with the school. The school doesn't want you around anymore. They want your butt out of there. But also, you'll be dealing with lawsuits where someone might literally claim a right to all the money that you're going to earn for your entire life. Like literally, you'll be 60 years old trying to make money just to pay restitution on some lawsuit from something goofy that you did when you were 20 years old. So this is to me the kind of conversation I think that has to be had with young people. Everybody ain't gonna listen because stupid culture is going to do what stupid culture does. But I think that there are a lot of young people who will listen, who will have the courage to say, you know what, I'm gonna get out. I'm in a bad situation right now. I'm gonna get out of that. I think I found that a big chunk of surviving as a young black male was knowing when to walk away from bad situations. Knowing when to say, I don't want, let me out the car, man. Like the menace, like not Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood. Remember that? Where Doughboy's driving the car and Trey he says, "Hey Doughboy, let me out the car, man." Right? Like just having that discernment. Um, I was thinking about that in terms of just how many times I had to say, let me out the car. I'm out of here. I'm not. I don't want to be here anymore. I remember being at a bachelor party one time, and it was in Atlanta, so it was ratchet, and the groom had like these like strippers and stuff, and then the room got loud, and it was the only time I was ever in the room with strippers. I had to do that because I was one of the groomsmen, and it was my job to watch over the groom. And I was like, man, you got me up in here in this weird place. But anyway, so just to be honest, that stuff that's not fun for me. There's nothing thrilling about cheap sex, honestly. I like meaningful things. So anyway, but I was fascinated. Strippers are very athletic, by the way. I asked one of them, I said, you did you do gymnastics in high school? Because you got really strong calf muscles. And so she's like, yeah, I did. And of course, they're all working their way through college. That's always funny too. So anyway, so we were in this room, and the police guy called because the noise got loud. And there was one guy, I remember, I'll never forget him. He had a really good job working for some company, and he was like a high flyer. He was on his way to becoming an executive of the company. And he just casually came over to the group. He said, "Hey man, yeah, yo, I gotta get. I'll see you later, man." And he gave him five, and he walked out the door. And I remember thinking that was such an intelligent decision because what he was doing was he was doing a risk assessment. He said, I got a good job. I got a good situation now. I got a wife at home. I got this great job where I'm getting promotions and he was making over $100,000 a year at that time. He said, I'm not going to mess this up by being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I think that was great discernment and great risk management because if anybody has to engage in risk management, it's a black man because you have such a thin margin of error. And I wrote about this. I wrote a book a long time ago called "What If George Bush Were a Black Man." I wrote it 22 years ago, 21 years ago, and part of that was really reflecting on the fact that black males are just in a really tough spot where little tiny mistakes, wrong place, wrong time, wrong friends, whatever, can have just these massive consequences. And it's very traumatic. That's why I can't, I can never get over it, like the mass incarceration era. I refuse to get over that because it was so scary to live in the 90s where would just see good people get 20 years in prison because they made a mistake because they followed the crowd. So that leadership is really important, I think, for young people. And also same thing for your daughters. I think that there are so many people that are going to guide her down the wrong path. And I really think that critical thinking skill is essential for young black people. Because if you don't have critical thinking skill, if you don't have leadership skill, it doesn't matter what other skills you have. You're gonna just I'm thinking about it. It doesn't matter how smart you are if you are always quick to follow behind an idiot. Okay. All right. So Another thing too is that when you're talking about not just liability in these situations, so there's massive financial liability, but also the university is probably concerned because they're thinking about their own finances, right? They've got insurance issues now and all their own lawsuits. And also, I would imagine that their alumni donations are affected by this incident as well. And a couple more things about groupthink is that there was an experiment in 1951 by Solomon Ash, who demonstrated that individuals conform to incorrect group opinions due to social pressure, even when they know the correct answer. There was a study in 2011 by Gardner and Steinberg that found that young adults take more risks when they're being watched by their peers, reinforcing the idea that pledges might tolerate hazing because they're sort of trying to impress these people who are not worth impressing. Then also, there's another research paper by Banerjee in 1992 on herd behavior and economic decisions. So this basically says that individuals follow group behavior even if they contradict their personal judgment. Which is actually what causes a lot of financial bubbles. So a lot of times, what you can do is pay attention to how many people will follow along with the trend, even if the trend makes no sense, and they'll do it. Like you look at TikTok, you'll see all kinds. You'll see 70-year-olds trying to do TikTok dances, and your grandmas trying to twerk and all this other stuff because they think that this is what everybody wants to see. They'll just kind of follow the crowd. And this happens actually in financial behavior in financial markets. Whenever the market starts to move upward, like it is right now, you get a bubble and you get a speculative bubble because a lot of people will invest in things that make absolutely no sense to them, and they will do it just because they believe everybody else is doing it. So that herd behavior thing is something that will get you in trouble. To be a good investor, you must be, in my opinion, a contrarian. Warren Buffett used to say that you want to be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy. That means that you do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. So right now, for example, the market's doing really well today. Let me see. I'm looking at my account. Okay, it went down just a little bit. So some of those gains have been pulled back, but it's still pretty strong. And again, this is the day where you start thinking ahead and you start thinking about not what the market looks like now, but what it's going to look like when Donald Trump says something else crazy about tariffs and the market collapses again, because it's going to happen. He's committed to this tariffs thing. So be really, really careful with investing in this environment. But if you like stock options and investing in them and buying and selling them, it's a great market for stock options investors because that uncertainty it bubbles up the prices of options. So it becomes kind of a fun market if you know what's going on. All right. So the last thing I'll mention really quickly before we bounce out for today is one, our certified options investing network. The first course starts tomorrow, and it's a 12-week cohort. And once you get done, you'll get a certificate. You'll be certified to teach stock options to other people. We're going to go stock options from A to Z, beginning all the way till the end. So our prime program focuses solely on one objective, which is to generate consistent income from selling stock options. Here, we're going to cover the sell side, the buy side, long term, short term, different strategies, strangle straddles, butterflies, condors, all this stuff. So when you get done, you will be certified to teach options to other people. You can form a community investment group. You can form a family investment club. You can form a club within your church. There are people in class that are teaching stock options to their church members. Why not? Why not? That's where the money's at. I mean, really, like the money is in the financial markets. Why wouldn't you want to learn as much as you can about the financial markets and teach as many people as you can? You taught them how to go fill out a job application. We're teaching each other how to show up to work every day. We're teaching each other how to get along with our boss. So why not teach each other how to get along with the money? So anyway, if you want to join Coin, just go to drboycecoin.com. You can apply and talk to someone about whether or not it's a fit for you. There is a payment plan and all that stuff. It's a little slightly higher price point because we're giving you a certification. But if you are interested, you can go to drboycecoin.com, drboycecoin.com. So feel free to talk to them. And the cohort starts tomorrow, and you can take a look. And also, if you want to take a look at things like our financial workbooks for kids or financial flashcards, just go to drboycebooks.com, drboycebooks.com. Johnny says, "What book are we reading tonight in the book club?" I think we're done. I think we're done with the Dr. Claude Anderson book. I got to double check, But I'm going to make sure we've covered that. But if we've already covered it, we'll move into my book, The Ten Commandments of Black Economic Power. I know a lot of you have copies of the book now because my arms are tired because I signed probably 5,000 books in the last week. And but so maybe we can do that tonight. But that'll be tonight. So if you want to get notified when we do book club and all this stuff, make sure you're on the text list for the Black Business School. And all you got to do is text the word morning, morning for money in the morning. Text the word morning to 87948. So you text morning to 87948. I'll give you guys a notification. All right. So have a good day, everybody. God bless you. And if you didn't get your books yet, just know they're on the way. We got bombarded with orders. We had thousands and thousands of orders that came in, and it was exciting. It was really cool. And I'm really happy that you guys are open to what I suggested. Like I was saying that the cost of an autographed copy of my book is $40. We're willing to sell you that book for $15. We did eight, but eight was like really, it's really, we can't make any money with eight, but we went to 15, which is I think a fair price. It's still $25 off the cost. And you can order as many copies as you want. And you can create a business out of this. I'm inviting you to do that, right? So, because it's a good book, it's a best-selling book, best book I've ever written. Everyone loves it. It's simple enough to be understood by everyone, even your children, but it's powerful enough such that if you implement even one third of those principles in that book, your generational wealth will transform for the next 100 years. I guarantee it. It's that straightforward. So if you're interested in that, you can go to 10commandments.boycewatkins.com. That's 10commandments.boycewatkins.com, and you can buy as many copies at the $15 price as you want. And that's just a gift to you guys. And you can do whatever you want. You can give them away if you want to, or you can resell them. I'm totally fine. I just want you all to, it's a win-win. You make money, the school makes money, and the community gets knowledge and education. And I also want to empower you and deputize you to create learning spaces in your house, learning centers in your church. Like bring people together. When you bring people together for the sake of knowledge and the sake of learning and the sharing information, then you're building wealth. Like I want you to understand that George Fraser came in, and I hope he helped you understand that when black folks come together and we're teaching each other, that's building wealth, actually. That's actually a wealth building exercise. And that's actually a power building exercise as well. That's why if you go back 250 years, they had laws that said that three black people cannot get together at the same time. If they get together, we're going to bust up that group. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Well, they did it because they saw the power that was there. So use that power. Black power is black unity, black connection, black family, anything that brings people together, that's power. Okay. So anyway, the website for Coin again is Dr. Boyce Coin, Dr. Boyce Coin, Coin. Feel free to take a look at that as well. All right, guys, have a great day. God bless you. Thank you guys for listening, and you'll hear from me again later on today. Talk to you later. Bye bye. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Come on in. Come on in. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I did start a couple minutes late, and the reasons are quite obvious. It's because today we're being blessed by one of the goatiest goats of all time, Dr. George C. Fraser, and I've mentioned him to you all on many occasions as one of the great thinkers in the history of our country. Not one of the great black thinkers, one of the greatest thinkers, period. And he's just a guy that you all need to hear from because he embodies everything that we talk about every single morning in class. And I am honored to welcome Dr. Frazier. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing wonderful, 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 wonderful. Good to see you. Good to be with you. Every time I'm in your space, you inspire me. And I mean that. I mean, you really do. You're just a model of everything that I talk about. No question. So thank you for having me on. And it's just God sent. You're God sent. And I think we're here together at this moment in time where one plus one makes 11 and not two.
Right on. Well, and I agree with you. I think I know a few weeks ago I went down to Tuskegee and our daughter is gonna go to school there.
Hmm.
And I was reminded of just the rich history of, some of the great individuals that were affiliated with Tuskegee, namely George Washington Carver and Booker T working together, for those many years to build that great institution. And I thought about just people like yourself that are doing great work and the opportunities to partner with people like yourself, because it's sort of like, okay, we're carrying our baton because we got a job to do. and our people are great, and I look forward to hearing you describe that in more detail. But it's almost it's such a blessing to just be a part of this, because I think that that what we're going to do as a community in the next 50 to 100 years is just going to be absolutely earth-shattering. What are your thoughts on that?
How could I not agree? Of course, I agree with those thoughts. No question about that. We are all that, as you've heard me say a million times, we're all that in a bag of chips, except too many of us don't know how
Mm,
awesome and powerful and creative we are, that we are God's first people, that we were building pyramids and solving complex engineering problems when white folks were living in the Caucasus Mountains practicing cannibalism. And so
mm,
our potential, I mean that's a fact. I'm not making that up. That's not mythology. That is anthropological and biological fact. So it's just I think one of our roles, and you do it so well, and it's why I love you, is to help our people understand that, to give them the proper guidance, mentoring, coaching, and education insights, all that you do every week, on how to get there. And I am really really grateful for you. In fact, if you wanted to put a meta um, theme on the Power Networking Conference, other than its official theme, the official theme is building intergenerational networks, uniting for shared future economic success. Um, I would say that the underlying motivation for us to continue to do that until we fall in our graves empty, because no, I don't think you become 65 and retire. Right. Some of the best work you will do in your life is between 60 and 70, according to the New England Journal of Medicine. But I think one of the things that we have to deal with, let's say from a mental health or a medical standpoint, is the whole idea of stress.
mm,
Stress. And there are many ways that we are stressed. Just living in this country, uh, being fundamentally considered less than, it is stress. And stress doesn't come from hard work. Stress primarily comes from not taking action over something you have some control over. Stress comes from ignoring that you shouldn't be ignoring. And so let me
mm,
say that a different way. The magic that we're all looking for is the work that we are avoiding. And so we have to do the work. You do the work. I work 8 to 10 hours a day, do the work 7 days a week. We have to do the work. I am not stressed. I know I have a bunch of white hair, but that just comes with 80 years of age. All right. But I manage my stress because I will do the work. That's what we're put here for.
mm,
And all we have to do is sort of change our mind. And as the old trope goes, Doc, only a fool can't change his mind. So we can change our mind. And that's what I'm working on, getting us to change our mind, to mitigate and manage the stress, and to provide our culture, our people, with a bespoke experience, a custom experience, when they come to the conference in Atlanta. And this is our second trip to Atlanta. Um, After the first three conferences in Cleveland, where it was created, Power Networking Conference, we've now retitled it the Power Networking Experience, because people are looking for experiences today. Experiences, just basically conferencing. So it's now the Power Networking Experience and Expo, and PNEX is sort of the acronym for it, and it's going to be an event-driven experience focused on entrepreneurial and professional success through on-site information, effective networking, coaching, and master mentoring workshops that are industry specific. We're going to focus on the 12 largest industries. There'll be specialized workshop on each industry, so it's a bespoke experience, right? And our focus is to help our Black business owners and professionals to connect, grow, and prosper and achieve, as you said, and started out with the question, achieve intergenerational prosperity. In other words, to learn, to earn, and return. That we have a lot of us learning and we have a lot of us earning, but not enough of us returning, and therein lies our problem. Ain't nobody saving Black people but Black people. It's been 400 years and we ain't saved. Who in the hell are we waiting for? We're waiting for us, and we're all that and a bag of chips. That's a long answer
Yes.
to your your very specific question, but I'm overflowing this morning.
Yeah, well, the conference I've been there several times, and I remember the very first one I went to. I think I met you the same year I met Dr. Claude Anderson, so that was a great year for me.
Mm.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? And I definitely want to talk about that for sure. And I want to ask you about this. I noticed, and I was super happy when I saw this. I saw you went viral because you gave a short monologue about the state of the Black family and that we gotta fix this. If we don't fix this, we're gonna be just dead in the water. And I'd love for you to address that because I saw it and I kept seeing it and seeing it. I said, this is what I'm talking about. This is the kind of stuff that should go viral, right? Instead of, some
Yeah.
rapper who's twerking at a party. I want to see stuff like this happen where the alarm bells are rang on what we need to do as a people in order to get ahead. And, my wife was excited about it because she's
Oh
all
yes.
about
Oh
the
yeah. She
family
talks
and
about it all
relationship.
the time.
Yeah, yeah. So can you address some of that and what you were saying in that really viral clip? Everybody should see it. I'll find it and bring it to class one day. Go ahead, please.
Um, yeah, it's a very sensitive topic. And I was not, and how that got out was really the result of a long conversation. I just want to give you some history that I had with Butch Graves, who was going to bring me on the Black Enterprise, do the Black Enterprise Conference. And I had a private conversation with him. And I said, and he wanted to do a fireside chat with me. And I said, one of the things I'd like to talk about, and it may be very sensitive, is the existential crisis of the Black family. And then what is the path for restoration? And you have to understand something about the word restoration. Restoration, if you're in housing restoration, if you restore homes or anything, one of the golden rules of restoration is you must begin with original parts, right? The
Mm.
original parts. And I was telling them my thinking at the time that we really, if you really, really study what's going on in Black America, is that our family is the concept of family in the culture is in a state of crisis. It is fundamentally really between the modern Black woman and the modern Black man, not the OGs, right? OGs like us, the folks that I hang out with, have been married a lot of years, right? In fact, I play golf with four couples every year at Hilton Head for 2 weeks. There's four couples. The average length of the marriage of those four couples is 51 years. So we tend to hang out with folks who are like us, but we're all OGs. We're all near 75 to 80 years old, and we're still playing golf. So what is this crisis? Marriage in our culture, if you do the research, I've been working on the research really now for about 2 years. Marriage in our culture was at its high in the 50s. It was around 88%. So it has gone from 1950 to now 2023 to 23%. 23%. This is not good. There are five major cultural groups in America. And if you look at the household median wealth or income, annual income of each of those cultural groups, we are at the bottom of the list. But there's a correlation between median household income or wealth and marriage rates. Now, so, brothers and sisters, kings and queens, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say these things and still be loved. For 350 years, white folk were number one in America for average median household income for 350 years. They are no longer number one. They're number three because they are also experiencing, in a sense, the same thing that we are experiencing. But we know that when white folks catch a cold, Black people catch pneumonia. Okay. So here are the five top cultural groups by household median income, annual household median income. Number one are East Indians.
Mm.
What is the average household median wealth or income, I should say? $124,000 a year. What is the marriage rate among East Indians? 94%. Number two are Chinese Asians at about $110,000 a year. What is the marriage rate in the Chinese culture? About 70%. Number three are white people. Average household income about $81,000. Marriage rate 57%. Number four are Latinos, right? Household median wealth or income is $61,000 and marriage rate is 70%. And number five at the bottom are Black folk. A household wealth or median income, $51,000 a year, marriage rate 23%. It's exacerbated by a couple of other devastating statistics. What is that? 80% of our children are raised in a single parent household, principally by a Black woman. God bless Black women. And 72% of our children are born out of wedlock. 71% of our sisters are not married. 29% of them will never get married. 61% of our brothers are not married, and 33% of them will never get married. So we have a crisis here that we have to fix. Why is that, Dr. Fraser? Because without couples, you have no families. Without families, you have no community. Without community, you have no tradition. Without tradition, you have no culture. That's point A. Point B, there is no culture in the history of humankind that has risen to maximize their full cultural potential without family at the center of that culture. This only exists for us in the United States of America. It does not exist anywhere else in the African diaspora. Now, there are some issues in Jamaica, right? But they're minor compared to what I just articulated for you. So we have some serious work to do because no one's going to fix that again but us. And I'm writing a book on this, by the way. It's called The New Flex, The Existential Crisis of the Black Family, The Path to Restoration. So I don't want to give away all my goodies. I'm hoping that it'll be out for the Power Networking experience in Atlanta, November the 5th through the 8th. But I'm very, very, very excited about it. I think, let me see if I have it. Oh, yeah, this is what it looks like right over here. This is the cover. I'll just put it up there for you to see it a little bit. It's the New Flex. I don't know if you can see it.
Nice. Yeah, I
Yeah,
see
the
that.
existential crisis of the Black family, a guide or path to restoration. So we have a lot of work to do, and we must do it. No one can do this for us but us. And this is, I think, one of the underlying reasons we are so stressed out. We have got to get together to get ahead. We need a lot of us doing a little instead of a few of us doing a lot. And one of the fundamental things that a lot of us need to be doing is hooking up with the right life partner. In fact, that is the most important decision you will make in your life. right?
Mm,
Talk about the
mm,
power of the human connection, the power of effective networking. Well, the most important decision you will make is your life partner. Mess that up 2 or 3 times and see what your life looks like, right? So now, sometimes, we get married too young. I mean, we men should not be getting married until at least 35,
yeah.
right? We don't mature as fast as our sisters. So we make young decisions, and, they don't work out because we don't really know who we are. We have not really fully formed yet. We have not fully matured yet. And there's a 20% chance, certainly, of a new uh, uh, potential wife or husband, of it working out for you. So, what are the 20% chances? Well, it goes like this: when two people decide to get married, hopefully you are equally yoked. Now, what does that mean, Dr. Fraser? My strengths covers your weaknesses,
Mm,
and your strengths covers my weaknesses. Hopefully we had enough intelligence, right? Maybe we didn't. In many cases, we haven't, because the divorce rate in our culture is higher than the marriage rate. The divorce rate is 75%. The marriage rate is, let's in round numbers, 25%. So here's what can happen. Let's say you start equally yoked. You can outgrow your partner, or your partner can outgrow you. That's the first of the two things that could potentially happen. The second of the two things that could potentially happen is you grow in one direction
mm,
and she grows in another direction. That's four.
mm,
Or the fifth thing that can happen, if you've done it right, you grow together like a twisted ficus tree. And that's what sustains a long-term relationship. All right. Now, this is easy to say, extraordinarily difficult to do. It requires a lot of flexibility, a lot of empathy, a lot of sympathy, and every emotion that you could possibly imagine as we grow together for a half a century or more. And it requires the flexibility and a high emotional intelligence to navigate that over a half a century or more. So
yeah.
it really requires growing together. People ask me all the time, Dr. Fraser, what's the biggest mistake? Um, and what is the big secret of staying with a sister for 50 plus years? Right? Well, how do you do that? What is the key? I said, well, it's a very simple answer for me. It's a one-word answer, and the answer is amnesia. Amnesia. Why is that, Dr. Fraser? Well, in 52 years, Dr. Fraser is going to do some dumb shit. Yep, I am a man. I'm going to do some dumb shit. I'm not perfect. And so is Nora Jean Fraser. She's going to do some dumb shit. Now, when we do our dumb shit, we come together with a high emotional intelligence. We ain't screaming, yelling, and fighting and raising fists. We discuss our dumb shit. We reach middle ground. We then bless it and release it, never to bring it up again,
Mm,
unless you do that dumb shit again. Right? So, and again, this is very easy to say. You have to have two of the right kind of people, who have the right kind of mindset, and want to make something work. You want to make it work. So you see the potential where 1 plus 1 makes 11 and not 2. And you want to make it work. She's fit, she's feminine, she's caring, friendly, love, and so you have something to work with. And so this is, again, very easy to say, extraordinarily difficult to do. We're doing the worst job in America at it, with the lowest marriage rate in our culture, and we have to fix that. Because we're just not going to get where we're going. Um, each gender fighting its own battles, but most importantly, fighting each other. So that's a 30,000 foot view. There's a lot more to it. In other words, when I say there's a lot more to it, what is the path to restoration? How do we fix it? What things can we do to get better at it, to make it a more productive uh, unit, and to take our people where they belong.
Mm. Everybody who's listening, in case you're wondering why I am sitting here in silent reflection, it's because we have the great honor of bringing in the one and only Dr. George C. Frazier, who is world renowned for his wisdom and his commitment to our community. And his understanding of what it's going to take for us to be as great as we're supposed to be, and so if anybody wants to know more about this brother, we're going to give you a lot of information. I am going to attend his power networking experience in Atlanta later this year. We'll tell you all about that. And also, I want to let everybody know if you're watching, if you got invited in and you're watching from outside the Zoom and you want to come in, I'll pop that link in there so you guys can come into the private Zoom if you'd like to. Reminder: we meet every single morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 days a week. And this is financial consciousness training. So if you are not on the text list for this class, you can join by pulling out your phone, text the word morning to the phone number 87948. So if you text morning to 87948, also I'll send you guys an invitation to join us later on today as we're going to do stock market class at noon. Dr. Frazier, we keep them going all day long in the Black Business
I
School. So,
know.
so,
That's why I
so
love you. I mean, my God, it's incredible. I see your stuff all the time. I get all of your notifications. My God, if I wasn't doing all that I'm trying to get done, I'd be spending half my days with you.
Well,
Well,
I think this is a full-time job for everybody, right? And like even now, with the stock market kind of crashing because of what's going on in Washington, there's so much work to do, so many opportunities, and I was like, no, today at noon we're gonna talk about it. We got to work. So I'll send you guys a text about that later. But speaking on that, Dr. Frazier, so I was gonna try to define what you're known for, right? But the problem is that when you're talking to somebody that you respect so much, it's hard to, I can't put you in a box, man. Your career is so powerful and impactful. But if I was to try to define, if someone said, well, what in what area do you think George Frazier has had the greatest impact? I would say, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this. I would
sure.
say that I still remember when you would go to the old Tavis Smiley State of Black America events and you held up that diagram
Connect the
that showed
dots.
all the dots, what the dots look like separately and what it looks like when they're connected.
Yeah.
And I said he understands the wealth and power that comes with connection, right? He understands why 300 years ago, Massa would get real nervous and real upset if he saw us connecting with each other and working together, helping each other, gathering in even small groups, right? Can you speak on that and tell me that was I kind of close when because I didn't want to limit you, but that was the thing that really stuck with me. It was like, okay, all we need is each other. We come together. We practice networking with each other in a specific way where we're mutually supportive. That heavily influenced my last book, The Ten Commandments of Black Economic Power. Just that line of thinking, because you can create wealth out of thin air just by working together. Can you speak on that, please?
You summarized it beautifully. Um, Now, what I'm probably known best for, and had essentially launched my career, if you will, as an entrepreneur, is this particular book that I wrote 31 years ago, Success Runs in Our Race: The Complete Guide to Effective Networking in the Black community. It is a modern day classic. It is required reading in 57 historically Black colleges. It is the book that started the networking conversation and ultimately started the networking movement in our culture. And you're right. People can go on YouTube, search for George Fraser, connect the dots, and they could see that exact video, a 7 minute little rant that I did at the Tavis Smiley State of Black America in Atlanta, Georgia, about 12 years ago. And I can tell you, I was extraordinarily nervous. Okay. Now, why?
Wow.
Um, I was a last minute selection for that august panel that included Minister Farrakhan. Now, I happened to be seated next to Minister Farrakhan,
Woo.
right? And all of the heavyweights were there. Jesse was there, of course. Michael Eric Dyson was there. All of them. Julia Hare, Dr. Julia Hare, the late great. I mean, it was 9 of us on that stage. But
Mhm.
I was there by accident. I happened to be in Atlanta that night, speaking, and I was staying at the Ritz-Carlton, and I was going back to my room after my talk, and I ran into Tavis Smiley.
Wow.
I said, he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I was speaking." He said, "Oh man." I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "I'm having the State of Black America, and all of the participants, we're having a little reception. Why don't you come on in? You know everybody." And I did. And we greeted and we hugged, and Tavis came over to me and said, "Can I speak to you privately?" And I said, "Sure." And so we went over in the corner. He said Mark Morial was to be on the stage with us tomorrow, but he couldn't make it. Can you fill in for Mark Morial? And I looked at him. I said, "Tavis, seriously? No, I can't fill in for Mark Morial. That's Mark Morial." He said, "No, no, no. You just do you. You don't, you don't have to." I said, "Okay, well, I could do me, but to fill in for Mark, no." So that's how I ended up on that stage. I was a fill-in, and what was so interesting was when they introduced everybody to the stage. Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Minister Farrakhan, people standing and applauding. And then I was the last one. They introduced Dr. George Fraser. And I think I had a cousin in the audience of the 7,000 people. I think I heard my cousin clap. Okay. So people were sort of scratching their head. Who's Dr. George Fraser? Okay. So anyway, um, Tavis had set it up so that each of the speakers on the stage had a 5 minute opening statement, and Minister Farrakhan was first. Now, if you've been around Minister Farrakhan, he could hardly say his name in 5 minutes. And
Yep.
and he was just awesome. And he's so loved and so transparent and so real, right? And he gave a talk that was probably 15 minutes to us, two standing ovations.
Wow.
So no, I'm sitting there next to him, sweating bullets. Okay. He was awesome. Who was next? Me. I had to follow Minister Farrakhan. Who in the hell wants to follow Minister Farrakhan? No, not at all. So I'm sitting there knowing, oh my God, I essentially didn't really know what to do. So I went into automatic mode. And of course, wherever I go, I used to carry around my little connect the dots chart, and I had it with me. So I launched into that 6.5 minute talk. Uh, it's easy to break a finger. It's hard to break a fist. The strength is in the not in the wolf. The strength is in the pack, and all the elements that I included in that very very uh, short rant. It was 7 minutes for me. It was half of what, and the place exploded. Right, it exploded, And it was almost equal to Minister Farrakhan. To my relief, I was under a lot of stress. So a fast forward 2 weeks, Tavis calls me. He said, I don't hope you don't mind, but we took that piece that you did, we separated it from the town hall meeting, and we put it out on social media, and already there's 1 million watches, views on it. Right. And that one little talk, and it was the only piece they excerpted from that entire town hall meeting, right?
Wow.
That is still up there and has had over 60 million views over the years. And I
Wow.
became either famous or infamous for it. And but it dealt essentially with really the power of the human connection, and that's really what I'm noted for. In fact, I'm going to show you something. Um, when I brought that book out, and I'm sorry for this long, I can't find it. I usually have it. When I What did I do with it? Let me see. I'm sorry. I know it's supposed to be. Where is it? Let me see. George can't. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Or at least I thought, oh yeah, here it is. When that book came out 31 years ago, I asked Earl Graves Sr. if he would do a review of the book,
Mm.
right? Or do a blurb for the book. And I had my publishers at the time, HarperCollins, send him a manuscript of the book. He read the manuscript. He said, "This is unfreaking believable. No one has ever written anything like this." He says, "It's so unbelievable. If you don't mind, not only will I give you a blurb, but I'm going to recommend blurbs from other people, to include Vernon Jordan, et cetera, et cetera. And I want to put you on the cover of Black Enterprise
Wow.
magazine." What? Right?
I think
And
that
I'm
would
going to
be
make it
called a flex.
right, right. And I'm going to make it the first book excerpt we've ever done in Black Enterprise magazine. That's how important I believe that this book was.
Wow.
So that's a long story on how I got started. But that once he put me on the cover of Black Enterprise magazine, my entire career skyrocketed. So I worship at the altar of Earl Graves Sr. Make no mistake about it. So long
Wow.
story, but I've reframed what I called back then effective networking. I've reframed it in the last 5 years, and you said it yourself. I'm now calling it the power of the human connection. The power of the human connection. So let me give you a biblical verse, brothers and sisters. It's Genesis 1:31. And God saw everything that he made, and behold, he said it was good. There's only one time in the Bible that God is not happy with his own work. God. That's Genesis 2:18. And the Lord God said, "It is not good for man to be alone. I will make him a helper
Mm.
comparable to him." He grabbed Adam's ribs and he made woman. There's a biblical declaration on the power of the human connection. It is a direct quote from Jesus Christ. Now, there are 800,000 words in the Bible. Only 1,200 of those words are direct quotes from Jesus Christ. It's John 5:30. And Jesus said, "I of my own self can do nothing." Now, this was Jesus, the
Mm.
Son of God. And he couldn't get it done on his own by himself in a vacuum. He needed what? 12 disciples, and
Mm.
one turned on him. So the love of the connection by God is very, very clear. And he gave us two ways to ensure that we connect. He gave us sex and money.
Mm.
Let me unpack that. Sex. The motivation for sex is ecstasy. There's no feeling on earth like it. But
Mm,
that is not the purpose of sex. The
mm,
purpose of sex is procreation, to
mm.
create more of God's children to serve you and for you to serve. That
Wow.
is the purpose of sex.
Yes.
Now, money. How do you earn money? You earn money through service. And the more skills you have, the more knowledge you have, the more education you have, the more people you can serve. And the
Mm,
more people you can serve, the more wealth you can build. So we all watched Beyonce as a baby practicing to be a singer. And then Beyonce grew up, and now you got to pay $250 to sit in a seat in the bleachers of 40,000 people to see Beyonce. She became masterful at her skills. She
mm,
used all the tools, including her beauty and her hourglass body, right, to entertain. That's a service to us, right? So the more, all the brothers and sisters, the more value you bring to the table of life with your knowledge and your skills and your subject matter expertise, that's how we earn money. So God
mm,
gave us what? Sex and money to ensure that we would connect each other by producing more of his children and then serving his children with the knowledge and expertise and the service that we bring to the table of life. That's
mm.
my story. I'm sticking to it.
Well, I love it. I gained a lot from it's really interesting that you mentioned the event at the State of Black America. I call it State of the Black Union. Was there something else called?
I think it was Union or something like that.
Yeah, whatever it
Yeah,
was. Either way, it was great. Shout
yeah.
out to Tavish for what he did. I thought it was amazing, and it's really interesting. As you were speaking, I was thinking about a couple of things. One was I was fascinated that you said that that's when your career took off because in my mind, you were already doing amazing things. I like when I met you in '06. I had a lot of respect for you way back then.
Right.
And then also when you mentioned sitting next to Farrakhan and speaking after the minister, I thought about the minister and I. We did this event in 2013 in Chicago, and I was sitting right next to him, and I get it. It just as he and I as we were talking, I'm doing my best, uh, but I can tell you. What speaking, I spoken to him for a couple hours one on one. I've spoken to you quite often one on one, and it's still just this sort of power, this thing where I'm like, okay, this is something special in the sense that I feel like I'm just connecting to Black history in those spaces, right? Like okay, this is the stuff where if we lay it down right and plant the seeds the right way, maybe some great grandkids will be talking about these conversations 100 years from now, and I don't want to mess it up, right? I want to really meditate on what this means and how powerful this can be, right? And I think also the reason I put you in the minister in a certain category is as a young Black man, I was looking for mentors. I was looking for something to look up to and admire, because my quite frankly, my problem, being at the University of Kentucky was I met a lot of older Black men who just seemed like punks. Scared of white folks. Don't even say their name. Don't won't talk. Just well, your best. Their only advice to me a lot of times was, well, you don't want to say too much. You don't want to. It felt like like
Right.
we were some
That's right.
whispering slaves. And I said, I want to talk to men that want to be men that understand what it means to fight for something, what it means to carry yourself with dignity, and to and as well as diplomacy, you're a very diplomatic person, and I admire that about you a lot. But just like the courage, you got to have the courage. You got to
That's
stand up
right.
and be honest about what others have tried to do to you. I think that they've worked extremely hard over time to rip away our masculinity.
That's right.
And that's not something that, in my view, is acceptable. So I put you and the minister, Dr. Claude Anderson, and others in that special space of men that are slightly above me. I'll call you older brothers, or if you want to accept father figure, whatever you want to call it, because it's like, okay, we've got these great black men and women of tremendous courage. And one thing I noticed as well, and I'd love for you feel free to speak on this, is we know that historically the media has said, no, 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 don't look at these black people. Look over here at the ones who've conformed. Look at the ones that we want you to see. We don't want you to see these people over here that are going to guide you to the promised land. We want you to see people that are going to guide you into a ditch. Right? Do you kind of feel that way that it's that one of the challenges, even when you talk about the breakdown of the family, has been driven by a deliberate effort by others to make sure that we remain blind, deaf, dumb, stupid, confused, and making horrible mistakes, starting with things like mass incarceration or whatever the case may be. How have you personally viewed all of this in your own journey as a human being and as a black man, for the last 80 years?
Um, I witnessed it live and in living color. And to your earlier point, yes, a major publishing company doesn't come to you to ask you to write a book that has never been written unless you had a pretty heavy duty uh, list of achievements. So, yes, that the book just made me more public, but I had a very, very, very deep body of work prior to being asked to write that book. In fact, I had already received a couple of honorary doctorate degrees prior to writing the book for my body of work. Okay.
Mm,
And I wasn't even 50 years old. I have been at this a long, long time, right? But that popularized me. Um, and certainly the rant of you're the average of the five people that you spend the most time with, and the fastest way to change yourself is to hang out with people who are where you want to be. In other words, don't spend major time with minor people, people going nowhere, want you to go nowhere with them, people doing nothing, want you to do nothing with them. If you want to change your life, change your relationships. And if you're not where you want to be in life, is because you don't have the right people in your life. In fact, the most powerful asset that you will have in the 21st century will not be AI or your computer. It will be your relationships, right? And you have to stay away from people who are still people. We have still people in our culture. What are they? They're still complaining, they're still broke, they're still hating, and they're still nowhere. Stay away from those people. And I was active when Black men were being destroyed with mass incarceration, drugs in our culture and community. That's one of the reasons I left Brooklyn, New York, Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York, where I was born and raised, 11 children, 8 boys and 3 girls. Mother became mentally ill when I was 2, and then 6 of us were put in orphanages. I stayed in an orphanage for 3 years, and then went into foster care and aged out of foster care at 18 years old, 1963. And then I went back home to the brownstone that my father had built in the early 1900s in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York. But I had older brothers who had gotten there before me. And what were they? They were heroin addicts and heroin dealers. 2 of them ended up on Rikers Island, and one of them, my youngest brother Joseph, was killed in a drug deal that went bad. But I tried to get him out of New York because I saw what was happening. It's a God thing. Right. And I said, I got to get the hell out of here. And I said, Joe, we have a sister, an older sister, Myra, in Cleveland, Ohio. Won't you come with me? I'm going to get on a Greyhound bus. I got one bag. Come with me. Let's get out of here. This is not good. Joe insisted to stay with our 3 brothers, and 3 years later, Joseph was killed in a drug deal that went bad. All right. So, this it's a God
wow.
thing. I had enough courage, you talked about that, enough courage to extract myself from that environment, right? And to start, essentially start over in a new place and in a new space. So we have to understand that you don't build a business, brothers and sisters. You build your people, and your people build your business. That's really how it works. And so understanding the power of the human connection and facilitating that and getting all of the exercises and work and mentoring and coaching and schooling on how to do that is critically important, especially if you're in business. Why? Because business is about relationships. Without relationships, you have no business. Without relationships, you have no business being in business. In fact, the business you're in the business of building relationships. Malcolm Gladwell, one of my favorite authors, said it beautifully. He said, the most common attribute of the rich are friends, contacts, and connections. Rich people have
Yes.
lots of friends.
Yes.
You
Yes.
have lots of friends, Dr. Boyce. I have lots of friends. That is my real and sustainable wealth.
Wow. Wow. I love that.
So
That's oh, please.
let me say that a different way. The measure of your wealth is other people. That's a measure of your wealth. That's why you serving other people, them ultimately serving you, is your key to success. You
Yes.
can't, there's nothing
Investment.
you can do on your own by yourself in a vacuum. I'm sorry. I don't care what you were told. You
Yes.
have to do it with and through other people. So that
Mm.
means developing a high emotional intelligence, right? The management of your five most important emotions, right? And a whole bunch of other requisite skills necessary to do the great work that you do, the great work that I do. I say that with humility, but I've done it with and through other people. And that's why the human connection is so critically important. I don't know if I answered your question. I went off on a rant there, but
No,
right,
that's why I wanted you to come in.
right, 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 right.
Yeah, George Fraser rent is worth money. I'm gonna tell you. I hope everybody will give a digital acknowledgement and a thank you to this brother for blessing us with his time. And before we go, I want him to tell you about his amazing event. I was gonna say conference, but it's now an experience. And before I do that, everybody, I want to remind you, in case you're not on the text list for this class, we meet every morning and we do economics and financial consciousness every day. A lot of you have heard. Let's talk about investing in people, investing in people, investing in people. So don't ever think that you're broke because you don't have money. There's some people that are so poor that all they have is money. That there's a saying with that, and that's true. So don't be one of those people. Go get your money, go get your wealth. We're going to show you how to do that, but also find
Mhm.
all the wealth that's around you, even if it doesn't show up in the form of a piece of paper or a dollar bill or whatever, right? So with that said, if you want to get on the text list for this class, text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. I'll send you a wake up call every morning. Also, later on today, we're going to do stock market training. So I'll send you guys a link where you can join the stock market club at a low cost if that's something that you'd like to do. And also, Dr. Frazier, I'd like to hear about your conference this year. I'm excited. I'm going to be there. I already, because the last time my schedule was so tight and I had to go in and go out, I hated that. So I actually went ahead 9 months early and cleared out 4 days to make sure that I'm there. Can you talk about this amazing experience that you have, the power networking experience, and what you have in store for people?
Well, as I mentioned, it's a bespoke experience this year because we're going to focus on 12 industries, the 12 most important industries, the biggest industries that Black people are invested and involved in entrepreneurially and or professionally. And so it's the kind of thing that you'll be able, when the entire schedule and everything is up on our website, PowerNetworkingEX.com, PowerNetworkingEX.com. um, People will be able to go and figure out each day what industry they want to focus on. There'll be general stuff for everybody as well, but it's industry specific. So it'll be, we'll have a workshop and an expert in the sports industry, in the fashion and in apparel industry, in the music industry, in the film and television industry, in social media influencer industry, in the hospitality industry, technology industry, service industry, real estate and construction industry, health and wellness, beauty industry, and financial services industries. Those are the industries that we're heavily invested in, both intellectual capital and physical. We're doing the physical work. So it's 4 days. It starts on a Wednesday. It starts with a white party. Everybody's dressed in white, not white people. Everybody's dressed in white, and it's a networking. Uh, we start out networking, building the connection, so that we will have people that we have met, know, like, and love, and that we can partner up with and continue the experience for the over the 4 day period of time. Um, so, what I like to do, if you'll allow me, I said I'd like to make a special offer. I call this my Dr. Boyce Watkins offer to those who were smart enough to be on this morning with us. The offer is good for 24 hours because it's a crazy offer. Now, you can't see it, but this is the back of the flyer, and here are all of the prices. So an adult registration to come to our conference is $2,967. By the way, we're 50% sold out, and we're 8 months away. So it's $2,967 for an adult. And for a student, and we want folks to bring a student, it's $1,967. So that's a $5,000 to bring one adult and one young person. Now, if you don't have a young person, we will scholarship a young person in your name in Atlanta if you don't have a young person that you can bring. So I'm going to reduce it from $5,000 to $599. $599 for two people, one adult and one young person. So that's a 75 or more percent discount. $599. Now, the only way you can get that, you cannot go on the site and get that, is through me. You have to call me, and I will personally call you back, and we will handle our business over the phone. So here's what you do. It's very simple. Take your email. In the subject line, you email it to me, gfraser@frasernet.com. Fraser spelled with an S. Just as you see it on the screen, gfraser@frasernet.com. In the subject line, put I'm in Boyce. I'm in Boyce. And in the body of the email, two things: your full name and your cell number, your full name and your cell number. And yes, I will personally call you. By the way, that's worth the price of admission. And we will handle our business over the phone by credit card. So take advantage of that. I'm going to give that package to.
Oh, did Dr. Fraser freeze? Or did I freeze?
Will be the event of the year. I promise you. Your takeaways, the knowledge, the people that you will meet, the skills that you will develop, the relationships that you will gain, will pay for years to come. And that's not me saying it. I'm really reading quotes here from people who respond to the conference after each year. This is our 24th annual conference. Now, you cannot put on a major conference for Black people for 24 years and it not be all that and a bag of chips, because black people will put your ass out of business in a New York minute if they ain't getting value. Right? So this is a high value opportunity. That's gfraser@frasernet.com. I'm in Boyce. full name in the body of the email and your cell number, and I'll personally call you.
All right, all right. Well, you all heard it here, and just so you know, um, if I didn't enjoy the conference or think the conference was everything that Dr. Fraser says it is, this conversation wouldn't be happening. This is a sacred space, and I am going to be there myself. I'll be there for 4 days. My wife will be there. What is powerful about the conference, everybody, is that you don't meet people like the people you meet when you go to the power networking experience. It's just a special, you're talking about people from our community who are doing amazing things in a multitude of industries. I mean, he's had billionaires there and, captains of industry and everything else. And then also just not scared to be black, right?
That's right.
Really representing our community. I'll tell you because that's my little pet peeve is, I would get a little irritated if I go somewhere where there are black folks and everybody's trying to be something other than what we are, or we're afraid to really talk about the world and what really needs to happen, and
That's
uh
right.
and I and again I can tell everybody I've been there many times and it's there's no other conference like it, and I want to give you so much credit for that, and also it was really interesting when you talk about what happened with your older brothers and the heroin and all that. It's so crazy how these systematic experiences happen to so many millions of people because my biological father, that was his vice, and that's why he was not in my life, and he spent some time in jail, and the man died, and somebody emailed me and said, yeah, your father died, and I was like, oh, sorry to hear that. I didn't know the guy, and it's sad. It's like you think about,
Wow.
yeah, it's like when you think about what drugs did to our people,
That's right.
it's unbelievable. We're talking about a multi-trillion-dollar loss for the black community from drugs. And then when you said something, and we can leave on this point. In the film that we did, B1 the movie, you said something I never forgot. You said that black folks change when our music changed.
That's right.
That when we started calling each other, you mentioned niggas, bitches, and
That's
hoes,
right. That's right.
that degraded who we were. And I'll tell you something I saw, and then Dr. Fraser, I want you to get the last word. I saw where the great artist Kendrick Lamar, who I admire immensely, he got a Grammy, right? And he got a Grammy for this song that he did, They Not Like Us, right? And so they announced he won the Grammy. Everybody's clapping, and the audience has a lot of white folks and some black folks, of course, too. And they're playing the song as he's going up on stage, and all these people are cheering. And I heard the word nigga like 8 times as the song is playing. And I just said, am I in the twilight zone? Is no one else disturbed by this? Not to disrespect him or anything like that, but I said, man, it's so interesting how we become just desensitized to
That's
what
right.
we call each other. What do you think about just any of that, and or your original statement? Just take it whatever direction you want to go.
I asked a brother who I won't mention his name because I was very disturbed about that, like you. And I asked him this is about 5 years ago, and we were having dinner together, and he's a big name in the rap. And I said, but why are you calling our people niggas, bitches, and hoes? And he looked at me. He said, Dr. Fraser, I am so sorry that Black people misunderstand that. He said, when we call Black people niggas, bitches, and hoes, we're talking about niggas. What did Chris Rock say? I love Black people, but I hate
I hate
niggas.
niggas.
Right, right, right. I'm that. He said, we're talking about niggas, we're talking about bitches, and we're talking about hoes. We're not talking about beautiful black sisters, right? And Malcolm said it differently. If I throw a rock and it hits you, it was supposed to hit you. But if you ain't a nigga, a bitch, or a hoe, this ain't about you. Right? Now, the world doesn't interpret it that way. All right, so I hear what you're saying. I said, "Whoa!" I was speechless. So I never thought about it from that perspective because, I damn sure ain't a nigga or bitch or a hoe, right?
No.
certainly don't feel like it, and I preach against all of that. He said, but yes, we do have niggas, we do have bitches, and we do have hoes, and they need to be beat up. I said,
Okay, so mystery solved. Well, I'm gonna make an announcement today that in this class, we do not allow niggas,
niggas,
bitches, or
bitches, and
hoes in the
hoes.
building. So
That's
if you
right.
fit the description, please don't come to class
Please,
until
this ain't
you.
for you.
There we go.
We
This
don't
ain't for
invite niggas,
you.
bitches, and hoes to the conference
There
either,
we go.
right?
I want to talk to black people. Well, okay. That's you give me something to think
Conscious
about, Dr.
black people.
Frazier.
And that's what he was saying. We're talking to conscious black people, and they ain't niggas, bitches, and hoes. We have them, and they need to be beat up. Right?
Wow,
And
that's
that's what I said. I said, "Wow, I never thought about it that way."
I'm gonna process that.
Right,
That's very interesting. Well, you know what, Dr.
straight no
Frazier,
chaser. Right, no question about it. So, brothers and sisters, join us. It will be a lifetime experience. I promise you that. Now, I'm going to make a special announcement. Special announcement. We're going to introduce a new mantra, Dr. Boyce. It's going to be excellence is the base, exceptionalism is the goal. You see,
mm,
we have to enter because of who we are and thought of as less than. We have to enter at excellence.
yes, yes,
That's the base. That's the basic expectation of you if you are a conscious black person of substance.
mm,
Excellence, that's the base. Exceptionalism is the goal. In fact, I think excellence in the culture at this moment in time is a bit overused. Okay,
mm,
exceptionalism is the goal. So we changed our annual award because we used to give out every year Icon of Excellence Award, right? And these would be the icons in our culture and community. We're giving out that award this year, but it will be the icons of exceptionalism.
mm.
Among those will be Robert Smith, one of the wealthiest black men in America,
Wow,
Ben Vereen, right?
wow,
Tyler Perry,
nice.
and Boyce Watkins.
Whoa!
Exceptionalism. You are exceptional.
I'm
You
turning
are.
off my camera. I'm turning off my camera, Dr. I did. Wow. I don't deserve it. I don't
Yes,
deserve,
you do.
but I will accept it. And I'm humbly and wow, wow, well, wow. I have nothing to say. I can't. I'm speechless. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank
That's
you.
my
Wow.
story. I'm sticking to it. This has been awesome. It's always awesome when I'm with you. You just excite me. You inspire me. And you inspire me with your love for our people, the consciousness that you bring to the culture, and the work that you do, and your serious and deep commitment to consciousness of our people. And you had the good sense of marrying an awesome sister. Right.
Wow.
And God bless her. I mean, in fact, we're going to talk to your wife because we're probably going to utilize, because we need therapy. Black people need therapy.
Yes.
Okay. We're all out of our minds. And so we need constant, never ending improvement. We need constant therapy. So
Yes.
that's going to be one of the areas that we're going to be focused for those who need therapy, want to talk about some stuff. We want to have a couple of really qualified therapists there that they can have those conversations. Okay.
Okay. Well, yeah. I'll let Alicia know.
Well,
And
yeah.
whew, I am okay. Now that you've taken my breath away, I want to say thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, give Dr. Frazier a digital thank you, round of applause. Let him know how amazing he is, and we have to create our own heroes, and he's already a hero to many. He needs to be a hero to more, and also because we are intentional in this space. I would like to ask you all to give me a yes if you're going to make sure that you maybe share this link with people in your family. Your children need to know
You
about this.
froze.
Oh, can you hear me? I hope you guys can hear me. I think you might. It's okay though. I'll keep talking, but give me a yes if you're going to share this man's ideas, share his books, share this video, whatever you want to share, because these are the people that our kids need to know about. These are the icons in our culture, and it looks like I think he froze actually, but it's okay because that's God's way of saying that it's time for us to start the rest of our day. And so I want to say, Dr. Frazier, if you can hear me, thank you so much for coming by. You guys will hear from me via text a little bit later. Make sure you text the word morning to the number 87948, and I'll send you a message. And I will see you all soon. There he is. He's back. He's back. So thank you very much, brother. Oh, I think you're muted.
Froze, and I thought maybe it was me, but anyway, yeah. I
Either
thank you.
way, it's all right. I gave you the golden send off regardless, and everybody thanked you. And I told them to or I asked them if they would make sure like that they tell their children about you and the work that you're doing. Because if we don't do it, ain't nobody else gonna do it.
That's right.
Right? You know,
That's right.
that's the rule. I think in America that the only black people that they really want to tell everybody about are the ones who ain't really doing nothing for the community,
That's right.
not really
That's right.
moving us forward, right? So effective black men and effective black women, unfortunately, don't have that space in mainstream media, but that's all right because they have space in our consciousness, and we are the stewards of the legacies that matter for our community.
That's right.
We protect that. We are the guardians of those keys. So educate your own kids. Do this. You got this. Thank you very much, Dr. Frazier. So
Let me just finish with two very quick thoughts.
sure.
DEI is the hot topic.
Mm,
And here's how we must engage DEI because it's out of the corporate world. Let's reframe it and make it mean something for us. So here is the new DEI we'll be introducing at the conference. The new DEI is divinely equipped individuals. That's who we are.
yes.
Divinely equipped individuals. That's what we are. We
Yes.
are DEI in that context. Finally, and I'll close with this. The line is longer for those who do not, I'm sorry, what was I going to say? The line is longer for those who want change than
Mhm.
for those who want to change. One
That's
two-letter word changes the
mhm.
whole meaning of that. Change, change. You will never change that which you tolerate. You'll only change when you get angry. People
Mm,
will not change when they see the light. People will change when they feel the heat.
mm.
We must change. And we
Yeah.
are. With your kind of leadership, Dr. Alicia's leadership, and the others that you will be joining at the Power Networking Experience. Thank you, Dr. Boyce.
Thank you. Thank you. Divinely equipped individuals. That's what we are. Everybody in here fits the description. And it's really funny you said that because I've talked about what I had defined as a new DEI. I think instead of saying the new DEI, maybe it's a new DEI, which would be development, entrepreneurship, and investment.
Oh, that's
Right?
good too.
Yeah. We let's use them all because I
Let's
think
use
that
them
it's
right.
time. Yeah, we got to take over that. You know, we have to reshape that narrative, make it what we want.
That's right.
And by development, entrepreneurship, and investment, I said, let's develop the community we want to see in existence. Let's create entrepreneurs and wealth builders in our community so we can have institutional infrastructure that employs our people. And let's invest in
That's
that
right.
infrastructure,
Right.
invest in each other. And that, so yes, but
I
divinely
love
equipped
that. I
individuals.
love that's a good sort of lay version of DEI. The
Yes,
divinely equipped individuals is sort of a spiritual version of
yes,
DEI, right? And we
yes,
are both. We're,
yes.
we're
We,
spiritual people, no question about that. Beautiful.
yes.
I
Yes. All
love
right.
it.
Well, thank you, Dr. Frazier. I appreciate you bringing your divinely equipped self to this space. This has been awesome, man. And and thank you all for hanging out with us today. I know we went a little bit longer than usual, but for obvious reasons, this man deserves that. So tell your family about Dr. Frazier. You'll hear from me later on in the day. God bless you, sir. And I look forward to seeing you at the conference if I don't see you before then. So, thank you so much
Absolutely.
for everything.
Send me
All
a
right.
copy of the video so I can push it out on my social media platforms. Okay?
Coming right
Is that
up.
okay? Is that okay with you?
Absolutely.
Okay,
It's on
great.
its way. I'll send it in a few minutes.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Love you. Keep
All
doing
right.
God's
Love you
work.
too, brother. Take
Good
care.
night, good day, everybody. Have a
All
good one.
right. Bye-bye, y'all. Hey everybody, how you doing? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Welcome, welcome. It's great to see you, Dr. Boyce Daily. That's the name of our program, and we do this daily, every day, actually on Spotify. If you want to get updates on the stock market and ways to make money, I love talking to you guys about that every day because my goal is to put more money in your pocket. Now, with that being said, right now you're in the middle of a crazy set of outcomes in the stock market. The stock market's acting absolutely berserk and ballistic at the same time. These declines are pretty significant and impactful to a lot of you that have stock portfolios. I know that 88% of our students in the Black Business School are stock market investors. So most of you are feeling a little bit of economic pain, a little bit of financial discomfort. And what I want to do is give you some guidelines on what's going on as well as what you might want to do next. And, you know, it's one of these things where this is where the great investors are carved out. This is where you make your money. You make your money during the bear markets because that's when money is made the most. Also, there's a study that basically says that if you missed something like the top 10 trading days of the last 30 years, you missed almost all the gains in the market. So the hard part about a bear market is that the temptation is to leave. But you have to stay because that's when the money gets made. Give me a yes if you understand. Also, let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Give me a quick yes if you can hear me. I had some mic issues earlier. I want to make sure that I'm coming through all right. Can you guys hear me okay? Put some yeses in the chat so I know that you can hear me. And also, if you're interested in learning stock options, this is a great time to learn it. This is a great market for options. If you want to learn all about options, our COIN program starts on Thursday. COIN stands for Certified Options Income Network. It's small group, deep dive options training from A to Z, and you get a certification when you're done. So if you'd like to talk to someone about joining COIN and apply, feel free to go to drboycecoin.com. All right, so first thing I want to do is I want to mention to you all that in an environment like this, if you feel that the water's too rocky, there are safe haven stocks that you can invest in when the market goes down, right? Or in an uncertain market. And right now, what a lot of people are using, the term they're using a lot to describe the stock market right now is uncertainty. And if there's anything to define Donald Trump, in terms of his impact on the economy, it is uncertainty. And this is without regard to whether or not you like him or not, whether you think he's a good guy or a bad guy. The unfortunate and crazy reality is that what he's doing with tariffs is not making sense anymore. It was making some degree of sense because it sounded like, okay, I want to put these tariffs on other countries. I want to even put tariffs on Canada and Europe, which, you know, that's things like this have happened before. And the reason we want to do it is because they're letting all this fentanyl into the country, and we want to stop the flow of fentanyl and stop the flow of illegal immigration. Okay, people got that. That made sense. But then the language shifted a little bit, and it became, you know, this thing like where we're going to reset the American economy. We want to rebuild the middle class and bring great American companies back to the United States and start manufacturing back in the U.S. That's a different goal. That's more of a long-term objective. That's something that if that is his goal with these tariffs, that's very dangerous for stock market investors in the short term because that means that this man's willing to pummel the stock market until he gets what he wants. And what he's seeking to obtain are these assurances from international companies that they're going to invest in the United States. He wants to hear companies like TSMC say, hey, we're going to make our chips in, you know, we're going to make them in Texas with you and wherever they make the chips. I forgot where they built that plant. And we're going to invest $100 billion in the United States. And that's pretty much what type of win I think he's seeking to get. If it's the first part, you know, fentanyl and what was the other one? Immigration, that means that a lot of this will be short-lived. That means that the market could reverse itself very quickly. If it's the other thing, the whole, you know, we want to shift the American economy, that becomes a problem. Was it New Mexico? Thank you, Michael. I didn't know what it was. One of them states, one of them places. So anyway, Trump is the reason the market's crashing right now. That he is the reason. You can't put it on any other variable other than the guy in the White House. Now, that does not necessarily mean you should love or hate Trump one way or the other. I know a lot of you have your beliefs and your feelings about him. There's the short game and the longer game, right? So the longer game is that there could be some economic wins further down the road. The longer game is that this could be a scenario where you buy the dip and everything's okay. Or the longer game could be more negative, where you end up disrupting consumer confidence. You disrupt the confidence of corporations as well to believe that they're going to have a stable enough landscape to make long-term economic plans. You disrupt global trade in a significant way. And so overall, worldwide, there is some probability that you could have a global recession out of this. And in fact, they've even used that term, stagflation, which is a very bad economic term. That's a scary term. Stagflation is inflation and a stagnant economy at the same time. That's almost like a person who has cancer, but they're allergic to chemotherapy, right? So, so the more you try to heal them, the more they're going to die. Or a grease fire in your kitchen. The more you want to pour water on it, the bigger the fire gets. Stagflation is kind of like a grease fire in the economy where it's very, very difficult to manage this. So I'm going to give you some quick variables that are happening now. And what I want to do also is by the time we're done, I'm going to give you some stocks that you can take a look at. These will be what they might call safe haven companies that you can invest in that will be safer during an economic downturn. So you can sort of picture all these different companies almost like boats on an ocean. And you've got the big tankers that are that don't move very much with the waves. And then you got the medium-sized, yachts or whatever. Then you got the little tiny dinghies. And the tiny dinghies are rocking left and right? So some of these dinghy stocks are really getting killed. The big tankers are staying pretty consistent in the ocean. So here are some quick little stats to kind of let you know what's happening here and why this is kind of an issue. You're not in bear market territory yet. A bear market is when you are 20% off of your previous high. Last I checked, the S&P is about 8% off of its high. So if this continues for another week or two at the same rate that it's been going so far, we will be in a bear market. Trump will have succeeded in destroying the stock market. And what's really crazy is I think even his buddy Elon Musk, Tesla, I saw something that said Tesla stock is 50% down this year, but let me double check that because that would sound crazy. But let me make sure I'm right about that because that sounds like I feel crazy even saying that. But it's down 15% today. The last 6 months. Okay, the last 6 months is only down 1.78%. The last month, though, it's down 36%. Year to date, it's down 41%. Okay, but over the last year, Tesla stock has actually made money. So that's kind of the interesting scenario that Elon Musk is looking at. Like right now, if you bought Tesla stock at the start of the year, January 1st, and you've held it for the last 2 months and 10 days, you have lost 41% of your money. That's a big problem. However, if you have held Tesla stock for the last 5 years, then maybe you're not mad because you have actually 5x'd your money. You 5x'd your money. But here's the crazy part. The stock is trading at 222.15. Not long ago, at the end of 2024, it was trading at 436. So people who invested in Tesla toward the end of the year got their asses kicked. They just got absolutely pummeled. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. Here's one little, so this is the first. It's not even a stock recommendation. I don't give investing advice. I'm just going to tell you what I'm buying. I'm buying Tesla. I'm buying Tesla because I want to hold it for the next 10 years. I'm buying Tesla because I believe, and I've heard from enough experts that they have technology that is advanced enough that they're just going to kill it financially. I'm buying Tesla because I believe that this dip is an opportunity to be a part of something bigger long term. I'm buying Tesla because I believe that once autonomous vehicles kind of hit the market, that they're really going to be able to have a huge piece of that. I believe also that their positioning in AI with robots and everything is going to be pretty powerful, and I want to be a part of that. Now, the problem with Tesla, though, is that you have risk. You have this key man risk. If Elon Musk slips and dies in the bathtub, then guess what? Tesla loses $100 billion in market value because Elon's gone. So the company is very brand driven in its valuation, but I think that there's something to that. I really believe that. All right. So anyway, do me a favor. Please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and it's great to see all you guys. And by the way, if you go to If you go to Spotify, you can find my name and look up my podcast on Spotify. I have a couple. One's called Dr. Boyce Daily Stock Market. The other one is the Dr. Boyce Breakdown. Because if you can't tell, I'm a black man. I'm a black man every day of the week and twice on Sundays. And so I speak about economics from a black perspective, but that doesn't mean that you have to be black to be here. You just got to respect black people and understand what we're trying to do. We got a community to build, and we're getting the job done. So anyway, with that being said, one of the stocks that you may want to look at as a safe haven stock could be a stock like a Procter and Gamble. Procter and Gamble or McDonald's. People are always going to eat McDonald's, even if the economy's bad, because people always want to get access to that cancer food that they sell, that toxic crap. Like McDonald's food is it's like this poison from outer space, like where they can have a cheeseburger from 1985 and it doesn't actually dissolve or whatever it is. Like, it doesn't do what regular meat does. But still, McDonald's will probably remain pretty strong in a recession. Procter and Gamble will as well. Also, a company like Duke Energy, like a power company. These are things that people are going to use. Johnson & Johnson might be another stock to feel free to take a look at because they're going to make money even in a recession. So if you want to know some safe haven investments you can make that will keep, allegedly, again, there's no guarantees, keep you pretty safe even in a bad economy, those are some companies that are out there. Now, if you want to know some of the variables that are happening right now, I'm just going to give you a breakdown so you'll just know what's happening. A lot of you are stock market investors, and I know a lot of you are seeing red in your portfolio. Join the club. It's raining right now. Everybody's getting wet. I got water in my shoes. All you can do is hold your nose and hold out. I've also been buying dips. That's what I do. That's because that's my strategy. I stick with my strategy. I stick with the plan. I don't let whatever's happening out there affect what's happening inside of me. This is some of the lessons that Dr. Alicia works with you guys on in our Black Financial Therapy department in the Black Business School, is that you have to know how to keep your cool when the market acts weird, because if you freak out and panic and you run away, you're going to miss the chance to make the money. That's why we have the first ever Black Financial Therapy department in the Black Business School. So here's the thing. A few things that are causing this decline. One, trade tensions. These tariffs are causing all kinds of issues with China, Mexico, and Canada. And as much as Trump is disentangling us from those countries, these countries have really deep relationships with the United States economically. And there is chaos in global financial markets that results from the destabilization of these relationships. Now, just because the stock market has been getting hammered, though, doesn't mean that everybody loses if these relationships get changed or if they evolve over time. A lot of people have felt that globalization helps very wealthy people. If you're a stock market investor, globalization helps you because stock prices go up in a global society. But what about that worker in Pittsburgh who used to work at the steel mill, and now the steel mill is making all their steel in China, right? His life isn't going to get any better because of globalization, right? So an argument to be made in favor of tariffs, which I don't know if I agree with it all the time, is that it protects local industries. And it says that sometimes money is not the most important thing in the world. And also, just because more money is made doesn't mean everybody's getting that equally. The United States is not a country that's very good at distributing its wealth. I mean, the United States is a country where a lot of your wealth rises to the top. So stockholders get very wealthy with globalization. The elites get very wealthy. Regular working class people don't, right? And my goal really is to show you what the elite do so you can position your family in that space so you can benefit from Americanized capitalism. I'm not trying to convince you that it's a good thing. I'm not trying to make you a capitalist. I'm just trying to let you know you're in a capitalist society and money drives everything. That if you are Black and you are trying to just create another generation of employees, you're going to get killed. Your job will feed you, but it's your wealth that will help you really elevate. Your job is only designed to feed you just enough food so you can get up and go back to work tomorrow. All right. So moving on. Another issue going on here is there's a concern that there might be a recession. We talked about that. Consumer confidence is dropping. That's a big deal because the American consumer has propped up the stock market for a very long time. The stock market has been elevated by the fact that American consumers spend like crazy and they can't stop, won't stop. They never slow down their spending. Third, there's issues with inflation and interest rates now. Before, the Federal Reserve was going to lower interest rates. They had all these rate cuts kind of planned into the year. Well, now they can't. They're afraid to do it because they're seeing that this inflation may come back because tariffs are inflationary. So if they cut interest rates in an inflationary environment, they're only going to make the inflation worse. So what they might do instead is actually hike interest rates. So if you hike interest rates, that's slowing down the economy further. You've already got the tariffs and stuff in place, and you're also missing out on the rate cuts that were already priced into the stock market. So all this stuff just creates chaos with the stock. The stock market is like, oh God, what are you doing? This is crazy. So this is why you're seeing the market drop, because the valuations don't make sense anymore. And the tech sector has been just getting body slammed. It used to be the case that the tech trade, the NVIDIAs and the Teslas and the Microsofts, that was where the big money was. Not anymore. Not anymore. The economy has fully spread out. The United States was in a very dangerous position where an extraordinary percentage of our market's total economic value was tied up in like 7 stocks. It was like 7 stocks that controlled everything. And now that number is starting to dissipate. These companies, I personally am not chasing the NVIDIAs. I'm not chasing just the Amazons and the Microsofts. I think these companies are fine, but I'm actually happy that the valuations have come down a little bit. It might actually make more sense. And then last but not least, just when you have tariffs and broken trade relationships, you have a risk of a global recession. Global recessions can be caused in these environments, and that can be an issue. So RJ says, great content. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for your donation. I will take that $2 and I won't spend it in one place. I'll go buy me some stock with that $2. Thank you very much. But anyway, everybody, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. And I do have, we do have financial flashcards and workbooks for kids if you want to train your kids on wealth, which I believe we should educate our own children and we should train them on economics at the highest levels. You can feel free to go to drboycebooks.com. We have workbooks, flashcards, all kinds of stuff for kids of every age. And one of the things that we want to do is we want to make Black first people that care about our community. We want to make you and your family the most economically intelligent group of people on the planet. But it's going to take time. It's going to take a generation to do this. But I know this is what can happen. In my background, I'm a finance professor, in case you don't know, just for those who are new. All right. So Chris Sally says, what's the gold and silver tickers? There's SLV and GLD. SLV and GLD. Those are ETFs you can buy that'll give you access to gold and silver. Let's see here. What else? Procter & Gamble, Duke Energy, Johnson & Johnson. Those are the stocks that I mentioned earlier for sure. Let's see here. Damien, the only thing about buying dips right now is that it keeps dipping in my pockets aren't that long. Yeah. At some point you might run out of money. After that, you just got to wait for the dip to undip itself. That does suck. I agree with you. I hear you, man. It's hard out here for a big money player like yourself. I mean, you eventually you run out of cash, and liquidity becomes the number one driving challenge for all investors, most investors, when the market dips. When the market dips, the people that have the cash becomes king. And people like Warren Buffett are in the sweet spot. Warren Buffett, don't be surprised if the market keeps dropping. Don't be surprised if Warren Buffett pops in and makes some major acquisition and comes in and buys some, he says, I'm buying a 50% stake of McDonald's or something. Like Warren Buffett has enough cash where he could buy McDonald's, like straight up, just buy all the stock. I mean, there would be some legal hurdles to jump, of course, but he literally has enough money to buy McDonald's, I think, if he wanted to. That's how much cash he's sitting on. So don't be surprised if someone like Buffett just pops in and just makes a crazy move like that. Let's see here. Let's see. I see someone says, exactly. The presidency is a service and not a model. Okay. So you're talking about Trump and the presidency stuff. Yeah. I'm not going to debate that with you. Y'all can debate that another time. I mean, if you love Trump, you love him. If you hate him, you hate him. I personally find it interesting that now politically you have Black people on both sides of the aisle. I saw people saying that the White House canceled Black History Month, but then I saw like hundreds of Black people in the White House on Black History or to celebrate Black History Month. And these were Black people too. I don't think you have to be a Democrat to be Black. I hate that. Who in the hell said the Democrats get to decide what it means to be Black? No, you don't. You don't. Remember, I remember when Biden said that if you don't vote for me, then you ain't Black. You can't take away my Blackness, sir. You can't tell me what it means to be Black. If I want to be a Black chinchilla with wearing green underwear, then I'm still Black, even in my green drawers. So stop telling me what it means to be Black. You don't own me. Hey, so my Black Republican friends are still Black. My Black Democrat friends are still Black. And my Black independent friends are still Black. That's it. Don't let nobody take your Blackness from you. Nobody owns that. But anyway, And actually, I could take pride. Actually, y'all might know this, but when Charlemagne asked Biden those questions and got him to kind of freak out and say, well, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Charlemagne had texted me right before that interview and asked me, what should I ask him? And I gave him some questions. And I said, this will probably cause him to blow a gasket. And he asked him some of those questions. And then Biden just went like, you can't ask me that because you're black and black people aren't supposed to be smart. All right. So anyway, people need to buy physical gold and silver. Yeah, I agree. Well, maybe physical, sure, maybe. I mean, sure. If you're preparing for like the end of the world or World War III or something, honestly, if you really had a war or something just crazy happen where you really needed physical gold, I don't know. All the rules just change. The rules. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't care much about gold. I probably care more about food and stuff, but or shelter or safety and weapons and all that. So I don't know. But then again, sure, why not? But I think you can get by without it. Let's see, where can you make legitimate purchases from? There's a lot of apps out there. So if you want to get started with investing and stuff like that, we do have a stock market investors club. If you want to join, we're going to meet tomorrow. So you can go to drboystockmarket.com. The first month is free. So feel free to go to drboystockmarket.com. All right. So let's see here. Water. There we go. Water would matter. Thank you, El Haj. What are my thoughts on Johnson & Johnson and VZ volatility trading on $1 moves? Well, we talked about Johnson & Johnson earlier. You talking about Verizon volatility? If you're talking about VZ, I don't know much about. I don't follow Verizon like that, so I'd have to kind of look it up. All right. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here, guys. It was great to see you. I just wanted to give you a quick briefing on what was happening. If you want to know what I expect, I just really believe deep down they're not going to let this keep going forever. I would just be shocked if they were patient enough to say, we're going to let the whole stock market collapse and make all of our enemies happy, ruin the finances of all of our friends, and stick with this plan until we get what we want. I don't believe they're going to do that. I think they're going to make announcements that are going to reverse this. And what happens is typically the biggest positive moves in the market typically happen after days like this. That's usually what happens. It's very rare that you see a big move upward that wasn't preceded by a big move downward. Kind of like life. A lot of our greatest comebacks occur after our biggest setbacks. So again, I don't know if this is going to happen, but that's what I'm invested in. So if the market decides to blow up tomorrow and do something really amazing, just know I will be back tomorrow and I will be smiling and saying, I told you so. But if it doesn't, then we got more to talk about too. All right, guys. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Can you show how to buy back the sold options in Prime class tomorrow? Yes. So tomorrow we're going to do a meeting of our stock options income class. And that's where the main thing we focus on is how to generate safe, consistent income by selling stock options. It's kind of cool. And if you are not a member, you can go to drboyceprime.com, or I also have a training called How to Make Money Without Working. And you can take a look at that, and that's free. Let me share that. You can actually get that if you text the word money to the number 87948. So text money to 87948. You'll get it. You can take a look at it, and I can walk you through it. And you can decide if that's something that works for you. A lot of people like it. It's how I make money for my family. So feel free to text the word money to 87948 and I'll send it to you via text, and you can take a look and decide. And those of you that are already in Prime, you will get a text from me tomorrow and another invitation for class. We got a lot to talk about, and I'll lay out some plays and straightforward strategies that you can apply that will put money in your pocket right away. Hopefully we'll have a better market to work with. If not, then we'll still find the opportunities. There's always opportunities everywhere. No matter what the market condition is, always remember there's always an opportunity. It may be short-term, it may be long-term, but there's always an opportunity. All right, so have a good night, everybody. God bless you. Thank you guys for listening and hanging out with me, and I will see you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.